Panic a little bit or no?
No, I'm good.
I panicked a little bit. Just a little inside. All right, so yesterday we waited until the very end to give away Thomas Rhett tickets, so we're going to do that off the jump today. How about that? That way, you know, the people that listen at 2 o'clock get as much love as the people that listen at 5 o'clock. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you will win a pair of tickets to see Thomas Rhett at Bridgestone Arena on September 30th. Not sure you guys thought that was coming off the jump, so good luck with that. It is a Tuesday, which means that NFL Plus, one of the most difficult websites to use in the history of the internet, has released on Monday night the game tape from the Titans win over the Chargers. And as we probably are always going to do on this program, we enter Jared's Film Room.
You are now entering Jared's Film Room.
So I don't know if we're going to do Jared's Film Room every single Tuesday or not. Some days we may do it on Wednesdays. Some days we may do it on Friday. I don't know. But I decided that instead of just going over every play and saying, you know, this right here, they tried an inside zone run and so did so. Instead of that, I'm just going to stay on one thing. Today we're going to start on the offensive line. The Titans' offensive line is terrible. So when I watched the film, I noticed three very important people to the offense. Tim Kelly, Ryan Tannehill, and Derrick Henry have all adjusted how they play based upon the offensive line. Right now, that's the best option. The offensive line's not getting any better. It wasn't very good to begin with. I know ESPN.com said against the Saints it was one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. You know better than that. And it got worse because the best player on that line, Peter Skoronski, really the only good offensive lineman the Titans have, had an appendectomy. So, right now, working around the offensive line is better than trying to work through the offensive line. Now, there's two parts at play here. One of them is Vrabel and the offensive line coach and, you know, Mike McCarthy Jr. and everybody else trying to coach them up, right? So it's like, all right, now they get some more games under their belt. They work more together. They get more reps. They're in better football shape. And maybe over the course of the year, they'll play better on the offensive line. But I'm not banking on that either. I mean, there's a reality in life that you get what you pay for. And the Titans are not spending a lot of money on their offensive line. They have not invested a lot of resources into this offensive line. I mean, the one guy that they spent a very valuable asset on is Skoronski, and again, he happens to be the best one. So we'll go through each guy, you know, as far as how Kelly is adapting to the line, how Tannehill is adapting to the line, and how Henry's adapting to the line. But I do just want everybody to understand, as far as the running game is concerned, this offensive line is not going to road grade opponents. When Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards, when Derrick Henry was running out the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, this offensive line was murdering folks off the ball. But they had Taylor Lewan. They had Roger Saffold. Those are two Pro Bowl caliber players. At the time, Lewan was making about $15 million. Saffold was making about $12 million. And so those guys that get out there and they just knock somebody's block off. These guys aren't going to do it. Now, the one big 23-yard run that Derrick Henry had against the Chargers, Andre Dillard got out there and he grown-manned a guy on a block. I mean, that was a big old boy block. But again, the difference between Andre Dillard and Taylor Lewan is that Taylor Lewan could do that for an entire game. Andre Dillard does it 3 or 4 times over the course of a game. Dylan Radins, who you all want to throw a parade on Broadway for because he's not completely worthless, got in there. And when I looked at the tape, I saw a guy who was trying to be a physical guard. The key word, trying. He was trying to be a physical guard. He's really not that. You know, the first play that he got in there, the first snap, I mean, he went down to the ground about 4 yards in front of the line of scrimmage because he was trying to push somebody back there. But it's not very graceful. Again, it doesn't look very natural. Like, it's not like, again, Lewan and Saffold getting out there and just knocking somebody out. With Radunz, the best thing he can do, both run blocking and pass protection, and he's not very good in pass protection, which is why he's not a very good tackle. The best thing he can do is just get in the way. Like, can you just get in the way of those other guys? Like, we're going to run it to the right. Can you just get in the way of your guy? And he did a much better job than Xavier Newman-Johnson did. The thing with Xavier Newman-Johnson, who I don't think is very good either, but the thing about him was I don't think that he was picking up, like, the corrections, the communication on the line of scrimmage. Like, because they sacked Tannehill, and I didn't know I was supposed to get that guy. So my guess is after a couple of series, Vrabel realized he wasn't getting the communications. Like, all right, we better get somebody else in. But Radunz, again, I mean, he's fine, but he's not very good. And again, he's not going to grown man block anybody. He's not going to road grade anybody, and he's not very good in pass protection. Aaron Brewer is too small to run block. Daniel Brunskill, he's kind of all over the place. You know, I mean, I guess he's fine. He'd be fine as your fifth offensive lineman. So if you had, again, 3-4 years ago, Lawan, Saffold, Ben Jones, and Conklin, he'd be fine as the fifth guy. Kind of like Zach Klein was when Vrabel first got here. But he's not. I mean, he's probably a backup. And then Hubbard at right tackle, he might be the best offensive lineman this team has. I am dead serious after watching the tape. Now, how do those three, Tim Kelly, Ryan Tannehill, and Derrick Henry, how have they adjusted to the offensive line? I said on Robbie and Joe, the Friday before the Saints game, that I was worried about the big plays because the Titans' offensive line is going to be a work in progress, and the Titans are going to have to figure out how to work around the offensive line. And through 2 weeks, I am already seeing those guys start to work around the offensive line. We'll start with Tim Kelly. Multiple times throughout the game, he is moving Tannehill around. It's not Lamar Jackson, but that big throw at the end of the game where they moved Tannehill and he went down to the sideline and threw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, they did that to make sure Ryan Tannehill didn't get sacked. Secondly, on passing plays, they are leaving in tight ends to protect. So we talked about this yesterday on the show, that the best offense for the Titans is either giving the ball to Derrick or faking the ball to Derrick. When they fake the ball to Derrick on a play action on first down, like the shot to Burks, the shot to Moore, they are leaving tight ends in the game to block so that Tannehill can execute the fake and he can kind of hop into the throw and he can step up and he can make it. And so Tim Kelly's getting the ball out quicker, and what he's done a very good job of is he's going to have to outthink the defense. When the defense says, oh, they're going to run, you got to pass. When the defense says, oh, they're going to pass, you got to run, which is why first down shotgun runs with Tajay Spears are going to be effective, because other teams are going to see Tajay Spears in the game, in the shotgun, with a pass group on the field, and they're going to think it's a pass. So they're going to back up. And then Tajay Spears can get you 4 or 5. In one case, I think it was 11 yards on first down. So Tim Kelly is doing a good job, in my opinion, of working around the offensive line. Tim Kelly cannot call passing plays and passing down. They are not going to be able to stand back there on 3rd and 13 and execute a pass. And some people will say, well, nobody is good on 3rd and 13 to be able to execute a pass. The difference between everybody else and you is that nobody is going to be good on 3rd and 13, but it is almost impossible for you to complete a pass with your offensive line on 3rd and 13. Then there's Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is taking what the defense gives him. If there's a small hole that he can skinny up through and gain 4 yards to make it 2nd and 6, he's taking it. He's not looking for the home run shot. He's not looking for it because he knows he's not very likely to get it. So he's just taking what the defense gives him. I think he's doing an excellent job in pass protection, realizing, again, the best offense for the Titans from a passing standpoint is faking to him, which means on those play action passes, when one of those linemen gets beat, Derrick's got to be there, and he's going to have to take a pop. So they don't want to do this Because if Derek carries the ball 24 times, he's getting tackled 24 times. And if you're using him in pass protection, Derek's going to get hit another 6, 7, 8 times. And you don't want that, but they don't really have a choice. Now, the two big runs he's had this year, the one against the Saints on the right side and the one the other day, again, 23 yards against the Chargers, are where both Hubbard and Dillard absolutely smoked somebody. The other thing is, and this is a little inside the weeds here, combo blocking is a big part of what the Titans do. So two guys will block, say, one defensive lineman, and then the second guy will kind of push off the defensive lineman and then go try to get the linebacker. And they do that with tight ends a lot and guards, and they're not very good at that at all. And Chig had one on that, I want to say it was a 23-yard run, where Chig just got in the way. Like Chig didn't even really block the guy. Chig just, he slowed him down for a second. That was good enough for Derek. And then for Tannehill, he knows the ball's got to come out quick. Now, there was a sack that he took where he almost got sacked I think he ended up getting sacked at the 3-yard line, that I was disappointed in Tannehill. That ball's got to come out. You got to throw that ball away. And so Tannehill's going to have to, work on that at least a little bit. But the thing that Tannehill's going to have to be willing to accept is punting. And not only is Tannehill going to have to be willing to accept punting, you're going to have to accept punting. Because every time on any given pass play, Tannehill with this offensive line has 3 choices. 1, take a risk with the ball. So he drops back and he thinks DeAndre might be open. He thinks Burks might be open. He thinks he might be able to fit it into a spot that the guy will break at the right time and the DB won't be there and he can fit it in. That's risky. That is very risky. Cost him an interception against the Saints. Threw the ball up for DeAndre. Marshawn Lattimore made a play. So the first thing is to take a risk with the ball. I don't think you want that. 2, he can try to make something around by scrambling. That's what Patrick Mahomes does, where he'll run around in the back of the pocket, turn around, and then try to, sidearm off his back foot 55 yards down the field and a strike to a receiver. I don't think we like that either. And he runs the risk of getting sacked and turning the football over when he does that. And the third option is to concede. So you drop back, what you thought might be there's not there, throw it into the ground. Drop it short, gain a 2 on 3rd and 13, bring out the punter. And I know you don't want to hear that. But that is what they have to do to give them a chance to win. Maybe not give them a chance to win on that drive or give them a chance to win on that play. But to win the game, Tannehill just has to concede. He has to say, look, I'm not going to try to make a play on this particular play. I'm going to drop it off, check it down to Wesco, gain a 2, here comes Stonehouse. And that's how the Titans are working around their offensive line right now. Now, it'll get better because Skoronski will get in there, and he is hands down better than anybody else the Titans have. And it'll get better because these guys will get some more snaps together under their belt. And maybe it gets better when Nicholas Petit-Frere comes back, but I don't know if I would bench Chris Hubbard for Nicholas Petit-Frere the way Hubbard has played. I think Hubbard's actually been pretty good so far, all things considered. I think Hubbard's been okay so far, but they're going to have to work around the line. And that's because they didn't spend a lot of money on it. And as is the case with most things in life, the Titans are getting what they paid for. The guys who make all of the money, Tannehill and Henry, they're going to have to make do with the guys out there that don't. They're going to have to step up because none of the other guys make any money. What's the best part? What's the best part of this team? The defensive line. Guess what? Everybody on that line's getting paid. Everybody on the defensive line is getting paid. The poorest guy out of the 5 starters, basically, on the defensive line, Key, Landry, Autry, Simmons, and Tart, is Tart, and he makes $4.5 million. So you get what you pay for. And the line's just not very good. And that's Jared's Film Room. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Now, there is another assumption that is starting to come out that fans are starting to make. I've seen it in your text line, and now I'm starting to see it in these pro football focus grades, and it's It's spoken so much that I think people are starting to believe something about the Titans that A, isn't true, and B, if anybody believes this, I think it would be detrimental to the ball club. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. Boy, I kind of went a little long there in that first segment here on the program. But, hey, be sure to join us for the pregame show. That's right, 9:30 to 11:30 on Sunday, where we'll be live out at Twin Peaks in Cool Springs. It'll be me, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason, again, for the award-winning pregame show. 9:30 in the morning, and our pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and The Beast Unleashed.
He breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. Hey, this is Sean Fort, General Manager of Cromwell Media, and this month we want to highlight a few of our employees celebrating their anniversary. We have two members of our sales department, Jeff Kolb celebrating 12 years, and Matt Saggio celebrating 11 years with Cromwell Media. We also want to highlight Tina Jackson in our HR department, celebrating 2 years. Thank you all for making this a great place to work. If you're looking for a new career or just somewhere fun to work, send us a resume to together at cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Back in 1949, Dr. Houston began the tradition of treating athletes for common sports injuries. Today, the sports medicine physicians at Houston Clinic Orthopedics continue his legacy. Whether you play at school, in a league, on a professional team, or just enjoy being active, Houston Clinic Orthopedics physicians are there to help you stay in the game. Common sports injuries include tears, strains, sprains, and instabilities of the knee, shoulder, and ankle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is located where you work and live. Visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It'll be first and goal from the 5. It's a gain of 75. They hand it off to Henry. Henry toward the goal line, dives. And they're going to say he's down at the half-yard line. His teammates are saying he got in.
Is the crowd chanting Henry?
Yeah, they were.
Henry.
I think they are.
They're like, don't keep it simple, stupid, right? Give the ball to Derrick Henry. Oh, man, they are the offensive coordinator down here in the red zone. They're still chanting for him.
Second and goal. He tries again. He leaps his big body across the goal line. Touchdown, Titans. And they are proud of themselves, let's just say.
Oh, yeah. The fans all made good calls on that. We're going to run Derrick Henry on first down. No, we're not. We're going to fake it to him.
That looked like the really good Titans offenses of old. When you had A.J. Brown and you could go down the field and hit those big plays and then come back with the power of Derrick Henry and then capitalizing and scoring a touchdown when you get the opportunity, first and goal.
The fans get it. The fans get it. Hey, I know we just completed a 70-yard pass. Give Derrick the ball. Give it to Derrick. Even before they gave it to Derrick, the fans were chanting to give it to Derrick because they get it. So I'm about to get on a soapbox here, Ian, if I may.
Please.
That's okay with you.
Sure.
So I hear people talk, including my cohorts on the award-winning pregame show. I know that it's kind of out there in the national media circles about Derrick Henry not being the same anymore. And Derrick Henry, I read a text yesterday. Somebody said, look at the yards per carry. Derrick Henry is not the same anymore. He's just not that guy. And then I saw today that Pro Football Focus put their grades out. Now, you guys know I don't give a rat's ass about Pro Football Focus, and you shouldn't either. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago during Sunday Night Football, it said David Quessenberry at the bottom of the screen was the number 1 ranked right tackle in the NFL. The Titans declined to tender Quessenberry a contract, and he was not picked up until Buffalo gave him Scarbini money. So you can take Pro Football Focus grades and shove it up your keister, because I think it's all bullcrap anyways. But they had Chris Hubbard, Andre Dillard, and Dylan Radins all graded higher than Derrick Henry on Sunday against the Chargers. And I saw that, and I'm like, that is not what happened. That's not what it looked like when I watched it at the stadium. That's not what it looked like Sunday night when I watched the TV copy. And that is absolutely not what it looked like this morning when I watched the behind the end zone game tape of the trenches. Derrick Henry, in my opinion, is the same Derrick Henry that he has always been. The Derrick that ran for 2,000, him. The Derrick that ran the Patriots and ran the Ravens and ran you into the AFC Championship game, him. The Derrick who was the leading rusher and on pace for a second 2,000-yard season when he broke his foot at Indianapolis, him. The Derrick Henry that had 1,500 yards and was the second leading rusher last season, him. Derrick is the same Derrick. But what's around Derrick? So let's go back to 2019, right? Because, again, that's when Derrick broke out. Now, if you really want to parse this, Derrick broke out once Matt LaFleur took his head out of his tush and started giving him the ball at the end of the 2018 season because he didn't have a choice after Derrick ran for 280 yards against the Jags and then followed that up with 170 the next week against the Giants. At that point, the cat was out of the bag. But before that, the geniuses were all trying to bury Derrick on the bench, not only behind Deion Lewis, who was terrible, but David Fluellen, who is a bottom-of-the-roster kind of player. But in 2019, the Titans had an offensive line that had a $15 million left tackle, a $12 million guard, a $4 million center, a right guard that went on to sign a $10 million contract, and a $14 million right tackle in Jack Conklin. So that combined with what those guys all ended up being paid for $55 million. So in 2019, Derrick wins the rushing title. Derrick takes you into the playoffs. Derrick runs all over the Patriots. Derrick runs all over the Ravens. Derrick has 60-something yards in the first half of the AFC Championship game. You're up 17-7. And that line was making $55 million, or I guess they weren't making it, but they were worth $55 million when they all got out onto the open market. And that doesn't include the sixth offensive lineman, Dennis Kelly, that you paid, I think, something like $8 million to for the next season on his contract. So now we're talking about the $60 million range. Even if Peter Skoronski, who did not play on Sunday, even if Peter Skoronski becomes a top-of-the-market guard, which right now is $20 million. Now, he's not making $20 million because he's a rookie, but let's just say that he is Quentin Nelson or the guy in Atlanta or whomever, and he becomes a $20 million guard. Even if we give him $20 million, between the other four and that $20 million, the offensive line total is $35.6 million. The money they're paying Dillard, the money they're paying Brewer, the money they're paying Brunskill, and the money they're paying Hubbard. That is $20 million less than the 2019 line. And not only is it $20 million less, but I think we all know Lawan was being paid as a top-of-the-market tackle at $15 million. The top of the market right now for a left tackle is $25 million. So there is a certain level of football inflation that we're not including there. That 2019 team, that 2020 team, where Derrick ran for 2,000 yards, that team had A.J. Brown at wide receiver, a $25 million a year receiver. That team had a head coach as its play caller. Derek hasn't changed, folks. When you get Derek the ball and you give Derek an opportunity to run, Derek still makes plays. He still glides like a ballerina down the football field. I saw it when they threw him the ball out of the backfield against the Saints. I saw it on the 23-yard run. You all keep wondering, why doesn't Derek hit the home run anymore? Why doesn't Derek? It's because they don't have the infrastructure to support that with Derrick Henry. He's the same Derrick Henry. Now, do I think maybe there's a chance that if we check the GPS trackers and, we see, okay, well, Derek at peak acceleration in 2020 was, 22.3 miles per hour. And at peak acceleration right now, Derek is 21.4 miles per hour. Do I think there could be some kind of discrepancy there? Maybe. But Derek doesn't get those long runs anymore because Derek doesn't have the ability to start the long runs anymore. Watch these guys try to combo block. Go back to that 2019 season when TD said that TD went into the locker room and Roger Saffold said, hey, no white shirts in the club. We're throwing them out. They're getting out there and they're just, hey, you out of the club. They give the ball to Derek. Lawan would knock his guy back. Saffold would hit him on the side, then go up and hit the next guy, and Derek be sprung for a big run. When Andre Dillard gave him a big boy block, he ran for 23 yards on Sunday. When Chris Hubbard murdered a guy against the Saints, Derek took it to the right side for one of the biggest plays of the game. So it's not Derek. And I don't care what ESPN.com says about pro football offensive line run win rate / pass block rate. That doesn't matter. That same crap makes you believe that Jadeveon Clowney is good. You saw it with your eyes. You know Clowney's not good. And you see it with your eyes right now. This offensive line is not good. It's common sense, folks. If you were to look, and I don't know what the difference in, the cap. I don't know what the difference in the cap is between 2019 and now. I want to say the cap's around $225 million, $230 million, and back then it was $190. So we're talking about a difference of $40 million, right? So factor that in as well. The prices for everything have increased in the NFL, except for running back. That happens to be the one position where they've decreased. But everything else they've increased. They've increased on the offensive line, the interior of the line, and the tackles are making an ungodly amount of money. And you're paying $20 million less than you paid then. And that's under the assumption that Skoronski, a rookie with one game under his belt, is playing at a top of the market level. Of course Derrick Henry's not going to be as good. Talk to anybody in any industry. Did you see Patrick Mahomes when Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill weren't there against the Lions? I did. This could be anything. If you were to take me off of this station and you were to put me on a station that didn't have pro football or didn't have pro rights in town, didn't have college rights in town, didn't have a signal, it wouldn't be the same. And I think I'm a pretty darn good radio host. So, this stuff drives me crazy when everybody's like, oh, Derek's falling off. Derek's not the same. Derek's not. Did you see the screen pass against the Saints? He looked like a deer running down the sidelines. When the Titans connect on the long passes, they're connecting on the long passes because Derrick Henry is being faked the ball, and the defense is thinking, oh, God, not him. So give me a break with your Pro Football Focus and your ESPN that's sitting there trying to tell me that this offensive line's good or that Derek's falling off. Derek's not falling off. Derek's the same. And I think it's miraculous, too, because I would have assumed that Derek at some point in time, that Derek would fall off. He's 29 years old. He's carried the ball 19 billion times. He still looks like Derrick Henry to me. To your phones on it next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus, Mike Vrabel does fire a zinger back at the media yesterday, but it is something that this show would never, ever, ever, ever ask him to do. We'll get to that coming up. And, of course, your phones at 615-737-1025. Let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I actually have Hiller coming out to the house next week. Now, they could have actually come later today when I went to book it, because I just book online. And I just take out my phone, I go to happyhiller.com, and I just, boom, it's like 3 clicks, and I've got an appointment. But it just fits my schedule for Hiller to come out next week. Or actually, I think they're coming Friday. I think it's Friday morning they're coming. And I'm so glad that I can just, at my fingertips, call on Hiller and say, hey, can you guys come out here? There's a special plug that I have to have installed. And look, some of you don't even think I know about the things that I do for a living. I definitely don't know how to do that. So I'll let Hiller and the experts take care of it. And speaking of the experts at Hiller, you don't want to experience breakdowns when the first temperature drop happens. So it's time to get your heating tune-up taken care of. It's Happy Half Off Month at Hiller, and tune-ups are 50% off. This month, Hiller is making it easier than ever to tackle those necessary home replacements by giving you 50% off select add-on items. And Hiller's work is backed by the Happy OB or Services Free Guarantee. And again, I know that because I use Hiller, and I love them. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for another Kubota Field event hosted by Coleman Tractor of Nashville. Our biggest sales event of the year will take place on Thursday, September 21st at the Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot. Stop by our booth to learn all about Kubota. Zero-turn mowers, utility vehicles, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers, receive a coupon for up to $250, plus enter to win prizes. Try it and buy it at Coleman Tractor of Nashville during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot at the Nashville Gun Club, Thursday, September 21st. The event kicks off at 7:30 a.m.
Oh, Charlie's, that's where you find me. That southern flavor got me saying, hey, y'all. And ooh, the gooey caramel pie tastes like summertime at Old Charlie's.
The sweet, sweet sounds of this song are in honor of the sweet, sweet news that Free Pie Wednesdays are back at O'Charlie's. O'Charlie's. Oh, that's good.
Yum, yum, have some fun. O'Charlie's, born in Nashville, and it shows.
Blue Raider fans, your home for all the MTSU football and men's basketball action is on 93.3 Classic Hits and 95.1 Classic Hits in the borough. Catch the action all season long with Chip Walters on the call. Go Blue Raiders!
2 times the healthy blood pressure support? That's a number to rave about. Thanks to Superbeats Heart Chew's unique 2X ingredient that helps promote normal blood pressure nearly 2 times more effectively than diet and exercise alone. Superbeats is America's #1 selling beet brand and the only #1 cardiologist, doctor, and pharmacist recommended beet brand for heart health support. A clinical study showed that the key ingredient in Superbeats Heart Chews is nearly 2 times more effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. And they're part of a brand with over 60,000 5-star ratings and reviews. So double your potential with a special offer exclusively for radio listeners. Get a free 30-day supply of Superbeats Heart Chews and 15% off your first order at getsuperbeats.com with code RADIO. That's a free 30-day supply and 15% off for radio listeners only at getsuperbeets.com, code RADIO.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad. It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stillman Company.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
What did you think about the first down? It seemed like run-pass balance was pretty interesting, and Derek Spears' balance was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's all about getting into the plays and drives and being able to allow some of those personnel groups to complement each other. Right? You go in with a package and, just trying to continue to expand on some of those things and, getting guys the touches and the carries and the throws that they need, and still trying to, take care of the football and doing all that. And I thought that there was a good flow. We were able to run the football. We worked some tempo. We hit a big play. We got on the ball. Got a lot of our stuff run. I still think there's can be a lot better execution and try to limit some of the mistakes.
Good point there by Vrabel. Now, I think what they were trying to hit at, and Jim Wyatt followed up with that question when talking about the personnel groupings, was 71% of the snaps for Derrick Henry, which is a good thing, much better than 48. What about the snaps? And Jim Wyatt asks it between Henry and Spears.
I guess this is more specific on the Derrick Tajay, I guess carries and snap counts and all that. Did that play out kind of ideally for you as far as how they both did their
Just
thing?
want them both to be productive, and we know that, Derrick's going to have to get his touches, and, Tajay can clearly help us as well. So, whether it's too little, too much, I sat in here before, Derrick rushed for 2,000 yards, and he was getting it too many times. I don't know what to tell you.
With Tajay, how do you like the way? Because it seemed like
You guys are chuckling. You're the ones that asked the questions.
There you go. So Vrabel's smart ass has to sit there and say, I gave it to him all those times. You asked him, it was too much. And in fairness to Vrabel, he did get asked that. I just want everybody to know, not on this show. This show has never, ever, ever shied away from wanting Derrick Henry to get the ball. Now, there were times where the GM defended them not giving Derrick the ball. Ian, you remember that. -1, +1, minus, that. And so I can't, when I say
Needs
this
to
show,
be better on first down.
I can't totally cover for that. But me, I have never, ever, 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 ever asked Mike Vrabel to not give the ball to Derrick Henry. In fact, the closest I came was in that Bengals game where I'm like, I kind of feel like Foreman might be, Derrick's kind of working his way back, and I feel like Foreman is ready to rock and roll here. But still, you got to give Derrick the ball. He's your guy. I'm not worried about giving the ball to Derrick Henry too much. I am worried about not giving the ball to Derrick Henry enough. But as far as the tread on the tires, he's on an expiring contract. Give him the ball. Run those tires into the ground. Who cares? So no, you're never giving the ball to Derrick Henry too much. You can only give it to Derrick not enough. You cannot give the ball to Derrick too much. Everybody on the same page? Ready? Break. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Michael has been waiting patiently and is going to kick us off today on the program. Thank you for calling. What's up, Michael?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm 100% behind you on this. The impact that Derrick has isn't just on the stat sheet, and that's what PFF gets wrong about all this. It's his intangibility of being able to suck down that defense to get those play-action bombs like we had to Treylon. You may as well just give partial credit of that 70 yards to Derrick, because without him being him, that play just doesn't happen. It's the same thing with Golden State and Steph Curry, where he makes the defense gravitate towards him because he's just so freaking good at shooting the basketball that the rest of the team is basically unguarded. Derrick Henry's the exact same way. If he's not on the field, the defense doesn't have to worry about someone breaking off an 80-yard run. But even if he's not just on the field and not a part of the play, it makes the offense that much better.
Here's the problem, I think, with people that don't think that Derrick Henry matters in that regard. Good call, Michael. Here's the problem with that, is that I think there's this idea that a lot of people don't want their team to be built around the running back. And I understand that. I understand that the way the NFL is trending, wide receivers are making upwards of $30 million a year and running backs make less and less. I get that. That's not, to me, that's not even a debatable topic. But it's not like if the Titans don't have Derrick Henry as their biggest threat on the field that they can go ahead and throw the ball to Tyreek Hill, right? It's not like Justin Jefferson's on this team. That's the problem. So when it's like, oh, well, the best offense is running Derrick or faking Derrick, I don't want that. Okay, that's fine. You don't want it, but that's the best you've got right now. None of these other guys on this team, Hopkins, Burks, Okonkwo, Spears, Wiley, Wesco, Westbrook-Akine, Moore, none of these guys on this team are the threat that he is. None of them. And yeah, Spears can run faster than he probably in a straight line. And yeah, I guess maybe at this point there's a chance Chig might be a little bit more explosive. He's not the threat Derrick Henry is. And I know he's not the threat that Derrick Henry is because the other teams are not threatened by those guys the way they're threatened by Derrick. And you see it in how they play you. So I don't know how Pro Football Focus comes up with their grades. We have never subscribed to Pro Football Focus as the end-all be-all of anything on this program. But the idea that, Andre Dillard played better than Derrick Henry. Texter into the text line says, if he's the same Derrick, where's the breakaway speed? When Derrick gets caught from behind 20 yards downfield, is it because the offensive line couldn't run and block the people in front of him or behind him? It's unbelievable how many fanboy takes you have per day. Has Derrick been caught from behind this year? I don't think Derrick's been caught from behind this year. Derrick did have a breakaway touchdown last year at the end of the season against the Texans in a game that Malik Willis played quarterback. Now, if there isn't another game on the schedule where Derrick Henry is the only threat on the field, it's when Malik Willis is at quarterback, and Derrick still had a breakaway touchdown there. I mean, I don't know about you guys. When Derrick gets the ball out in space, like he did on that screen pass against the Saints, I mean, I don't think I saw Eddie George at the end. No disrespect to Eddie. I remember Eddie at the end. You remember Eddie at the end. Eddie couldn't get there anymore. Derrick can still run. I mean, Derrick had a 42-yard pass reception, and it's not like he's a great route runner. Derrick had a 42-yard grab. Derrick had a 23-yard run. Derrick had a huge run against the Saints. I mean, Derrick's ripping off these 5- and 6-yard runs on an inside zone run where there's nowhere to run. Derrick is a special player, and the amount of you that want to bitch about it, that is insane to me. Like, I remember as a kid when Steve McNair was the quarterback and all the other quarterbacks, whether it was Brett Favre or Peyton Manning or Rich Gannon or whomever, all the other quarterbacks got more hype than McNair back in the day. And McNair ended up winning the MVP, but I think there was kind of this sense around here of disrespect. Like, how dare you disrespect our guy like that? Here, I feel like it's Titan fans that are like, Derrick, he's just not any good anymore. It's like, are you watching the game? Are you watching Josh Dobbs at quarterback? I actually watched a tape of the Jacksonville game a little bit this morning, the final game last year, because I wanted to see if Jordan Roos was better or worse than Dylan Radins at guard. And it's kind of a wash. I mean, it's kind of a wash. But I was watching it, and I'm like, look at the offensive line. Corey Levin, Aaron Brewer, Jordan Roos, who got cut from your practice squad this week, Dennis Daly, and Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. Josh Dobbs is the quarterback, and Derrick still ran for 100 yards in a have-to-have-it game against a defensive line that has the number 1 overall pick in the draft on it. And he still ran for 100 yards. So if you people are down on Derrick, you people are freaking crazy. And the only solace that I take out of this is the fact that the fans were chanting, Henry, Henry, Henry. Because at least it's like, okay, the stadium gets it, but maybe it's just a couple of people in the text line or that call or whatever. But the whole pro football, I mean, that's ridiculous. 615-737-1025. I do want to touch on this from the game. A lot of you want to know, what do you think of the kicker now, Jared? Let's hit that next. Since we didn't really get to it yesterday, it was on the grid, but we didn't get to it, so we'll get to that next. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. And be sure to tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the AAA affiliate of the Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans and Family Leisure.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Your home reflects you, your style, your choices. That's why purchasing a home is not just financially significant, it's personal too. At F&M Mortgage, we understand clients need a loan that's just as personal, one that fits you with service from a local lender who lives right here. Yes, we offer competitive rates and low closing costs, but we also know home financing should be more than just numbers. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The two most sought-after, most prestigious names in bridal jewelry come together for one epic event this weekend at Genesis Diamonds.
Tacori and Verragio, the world's premier designers, are showing off their entire collections. All the latest designs, many showcased for the first time ever, with up to $5,000 in savings.
Everyone loves Tacori, meticulously crafted by master artisans in their California design studio. Discover the hidden details and exceptional quality that sets Tacori apart. There's always more than meets the eye with Tacori. Come explore the entire Tacori collection, including all new Tacori fine jewelry, earrings, bracelets, eternity bands, pendants, and more.
If you're engagement ring shopping, this is a once-a-year event you can't miss. Other jewelers aren't even allowed to carry these iconic American-made brands.
Also for this event, Genesis is showcasing an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds in all shapes and sizes.
Come join us and take advantage of special incentives, zero-interest financing, and as much as $5,000 in savings. This Friday through Sunday, only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Actor Portrayal, based on a real patient experience.
I'm Mike. I'm a husband, proud father of two, work my butt off 6 days a week, some nights too. When my family or my company needs me to make it happen, I make it happen. But a few months ago, I started having trouble making it happen, in the bedroom. I tried some pills online, but they didn't work. Honestly, I thought about throwing in the towel on my sex life, but I'm not that old. I still want to enjoy intimacy with my wife. Like that poet said, I don't want to just go gently into that good night. So I went to the Tennessee Men's Clinic in Franklin. Got some lab work done, was prescribed some meds, and wow, it made it happen. I can't say enough about them. Their providers took care of me, followed up, and made sure I had a treatment plan that actually works. It's awesome. If I were you, and you're like me, I'd give them a call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. If you're like most guys, they'll make it happen for you too.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
Penalty Box Radio Live is back. Join Alex Doherty and Sean Smith every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for a full hour of local hockey talk, full analysis of the Nashville Predators. Honest hockey talk like you've come to expect from the Penalty Box Radio brand over the years. Penalty Box Radio is back home on 102.5 The Game for the 2023-2024 hockey season. For more, check them out at penaltyboxradio.com.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah, I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one. It's absurd.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Folk has made 6 straight field goals of 40 yards or more. This will be a 41-yarder to win it.
Inside of 40, he's 65 in a row.
Amazing.
In his career.
From the near hash mark, the rain is lightened up. Good snap, good hold. Kick is on its way. The game winner, and it is good! The Tennessee Titans in overtime have knocked off the LA Chargers 27-24.
So I tweeted out after the game, all caps, and I said, thank God they traded for Nick Folk. Thank God they made that trade. Ian, you want to guess the reaction I got?
Oh, I'm sure it was lovely.
Oh, it was great. Oh, it was people, screw you. Don't think we didn't listen to the show when you said you didn't like that trade. Everybody. I mean, the text line yesterday, everybody. What do you think of the kicker now, Jared? What do you think now? Couple of things here. First off, we never questioned whether or not Nick Folk could make kicks from 41 yards and 33 yards. We felt pretty confident he could make those. I mean, like, that we felt kind of fine with, right? Because that's what we were told. The scouting report was that he just can't kick it long. That's it. Now, he did hit the 50-yarder against the Saints, which is good. I hope the sentiment that you have when that ball goes through the uprights and you think, ha ha, screw you, Jared. I hope that continues. Because when the ball goes through the uprights, I'm happy that the Titans made a field goal. And so I will not let the anti-Jared Stillman crowd take away the excitement of the Titans actually making field goals. I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I do think that there are some Gary Anderson-like qualities when it comes to Nick Folk. He's old, and he can make them when they're short. You know, he did hit the 50-yarder, which I think that was probably a little bit further beyond Gary's range, you know, when the Titans had signed Gary Anderson at the age of 97 years old. But, I mean, I'm not going to tinkle on the parade of Jared Stillman was wrong about Nick Folk. I hope this continues. As much as I enjoy being right, as much as I enjoy getting a lot of you all out there that have opinions like, oh, Jared's crazy for talking about that, and then you watch a game on Sunday and you're like, man, Jared's spot on. As much as I enjoy that, I enjoy the Titans winning a lot more. And if he's going to, I mean, the way that they're going to win games with it being defense and working around the, inadequacies of the offensive line, field goal kicking is going to be a big part of that. Now, let's see what happens. You know, where they were sitting before Tannehill hit Hopkins with that pass, you know, I'm doing the math. I see the ball. I want to say the ball was at like the 37 or the 38. And I'm like, you're looking at a 56-yard field goal here for the win. And, you know, Derek, I think, lost yards on one of the handoffs. And it's like, okay, you know, if you kick it from right here, you're kicking it from 57. So now we're going to see. And I texted Joe. And I was like, all right, now we're going to see if Nick Folk's got that leg. And then Tim Kelly with an excellent play call. Tannehill and Hopkins with excellent execution. They put the ball right there to make it a 41-yard kick. And anybody who belongs in the NFL should be able to make a 41-yard kick. So, again, my biggest issues are the fact that, you know, he doesn't kick it very far. And he did hit a 50-yarder at the dome, which is good. But, I mean, again, he's made his PATs. Woo! I know that was a struggle in the Bengals game that the Patriots lost last year. But I expect him to make his PATs. But for all you out there that are like, ha, 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 ha. I mean, let me say this. I hope that you get to laugh and as much as you want towards me. It does not bother me one iota. Texter in the text line said through the end zone every kickoff. I don't think that's the case. I mean, I don't think they're trying to do that. Like, I think they're trying to kick the ball to like the 1 or 2 yard line, and he's kicking the ball to the 1 or 2 yard line, but he's not kicking it through. Now, I watched and we'll get into this in the next hour, but I watched the Jags and the Chiefs, and with Jamal Agnew, who's a great returner, I mean, Harrison Butker was kicking the crap out of the ball. Like, he was knocking that ball through the end zone every time because he didn't want to give Agnew a chance to return it. You play Agnew twice this year. When it's Agnew, and it's not, you know, some of these guys for these other teams that you want to try to pin them back, but you really want to make sure that, hey, you know what, let's not let Agnew beat us like he beat you on a punt return or a kickoff return last year in the Jacksonville game at the end of the season. I mean, does he have the leg to kick it through? Texter in the text line says that I behave like a hypocrite. I did not say that I did not say that I was against the trade when it happened. I was. I was like, that's the answer. It's Nick Folk. That's your answer. That was my response 3 weeks ago. So far, he's made all of his kicks, and I hope he keeps making them. I do. I don't understand what you want. Now, what you want is you want me to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and you were right, and the Titans are going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm not there yet. Now, if Nick Folk is kicking in the rain from 57 and he drills it right down the middle, we got a different discussion. But he didn't. He made it from 41. Texter says you played low-light tapes of Folk all day after he was traded. We did do that. We did play the return cut of him hitting the crossbar from 48 yards against the Bills and then missing the 2 extra points. We did do that. But, Ian, did we not the next day play the game-winning 51-yarder that he hit against the Jets in 2020?
We did, yes.
So, I'm just saying. One texter into the text line says, people look for a reason for Derrick Henry, whether it's his age or whatever, to automatically think it's impossible for him to be good just because that's what the narrative is with running backs. If people actually paid attention to the games, they would see that Derrick Henry is still the man. I mean, I would agree with you, except that I take all these texts and these calls from all these people that tell me that Derrick Henry's not the man anymore. You've got your general manager. He takes the job. He's out there shopping Derrick Henry around. So I don't think that they feel that way. You've got your offensive coordinator who was here last year as the passing game coordinator, so he was there every day, has watched every tape, was part of every game plan last season, and they go out the first week in a 1-point game and he plays 45% of the snaps. So it's not just the national narrative surrounding Derrick Henry. I'd argue that your people want to move on from Derrick Henry, which is so freaking crazy. I do not get it. I do not understand how you can be a Titan fan, a Titan coach, a Titan executive, anybody who watches this team on a regular basis. Hell, James Lofton, he calls every Titan game anyways, basically. I don't know how you could watch this and think, man, the only saving grace of this football team, the most important part of it is its running back. The second he walks out of here, you're not any good unless you figure out a way to replace him, and it ain't going to be Spears. You guys remember the Steelers of the early 2000s? Jerome Bettis and Amos Zaraway? Yeah, what did Amos Zaraway do without the bus? Bettis is in the Hall of Fame. Zaraway was a great complimentary back. But where was he after Bettis? And that's the point. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. There is always a credit where credit is due kind of thing. And we did not get to this yesterday from the game on Sunday, but Vrabel brought this up in his postgame that I think is very important, that gives me a lot of optimism about this team. I'll explain what that is, and we'll get to that next. Here on Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. Make your silly underdog picks for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at thegamenashville.com or the 1025 The Game app as we approach week 4 of college football and week 3 of the NFL. Silly underdog picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I love the PhD Weight Loss program, and I am continuing to blow past the numbers. That's right. I'm getting close to my maintenance stage, and I did it all while enjoying the summer and traveling on vacation. But now that it's football season, I'm able to lock in on my nutrition thanks to the PhD Weight Loss program. I feel so much better about being in control of my weight, and I get excited when I continue to see my progress. And what's great is that PhD Weight Loss provides you 85% of the food at no added cost. That's no pills, that's no injections, that's no crazy workout program, but it is simple nutrition that they help you through. If you're someone who has struggled to lose weight, go online to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. You can learn about the program, the coaching, and of course, their guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss online at myphdweightloss.com.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here. Are you looking for a luxury home on over an acre, 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and close to 7,000 square feet? 6551 Brownlee Drive in Nashville's Westmead neighborhood offers that and a 4th car garage, all by an award-winning builder. Text the number 1 to 615-420-2377 for pricing and info. Want your home on the radio? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
Teddy's Tavern, downtown's newest bar with an old Nashville feel, is conveniently located across the street from Bridgestone Arena and just blocks away from the pedestrian bridge. Get a taste of the new brunch menu to fuel your Titans Day pride on game day. Pre-game specials from 9 a.m. till kickoff when the Titans play at home include 2-for-1 draft beers, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. Teddy's Tavern is where you want to be before every Titans home game, so come downtown early and meet me at Teddy's.
It's time for another Kubota Field event hosted by Coleman Tractor of Nashville. Our biggest sales event of the year will take place on Thursday, September 21st at the Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot. Stop by our booth to learn all about Kubota. Zero-turn mowers, utility vehicles, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers, receive a coupon for up to $250, plus enter to win prizes. Try it and buy it at Coleman Tractor of Nashville during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot at the Nashville Gun Club, Thursday, September 21st. The event kicks off at 7:30 a.m.
Now, your Game Center update.
After getting their first win of the season on Sunday over the Chargers, the Tennessee Titans will be turning the page to Week 3 when they travel to Cleveland to face the Browns. A familiar face will be on the Cleveland sidelines as former Titans assistant Jim Schwartz is now the Browns defensive coordinator. Titans head coach Mike Vrabel on how much info Schwartz might have on the team.
A lot of that is different. A lot of that has been changed, and but Jim's been around a long time, is a really good football coach, so I'm sure he'll have a great plan and ways to put their players in the best position.
The Browns will be without starting running back Nick Chubb after he was lost for the season to a knee injury last night. Titans vs. Browns is set for noon on Sunday. The Nashville Sounds begin their final series of the season tonight at First Horizon Park as they take on Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. First pitch is set for 6:35 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's going to coach
Shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing. And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And so this has been a show that for years has criticized freely. If somebody needs to be criticized, no sacred cows, we do it. And it's hard for me because there are people that I actually like that, sometimes I've got to criticize a little bit. And it's hard, and it's not fun. Like, I like people to like me. But that Vanderbilt timeout on Saturday at the end of that game, Ian, I don't know if you saw that timeout that Vandy took.
No, I did not.
But I'm thinking to myself, Clark, what are we doing, baby? What are we doing? It's not fun. But the one thing that I've always said over the years when it comes to criticizing is I think criticism is fair as long as, give credit where credit is due. And so the Titans end up taking the lead against the Chargers. Justin Herbert gets the ball, and the Titans go to immediately the prevent defense, or what my dad calls the allow. So the Titans just let the Chargers move the ball right down the field. And, I want to say the Chargers got that ball with about 3 minutes left in the game. And all of a sudden, within 2 plays, it's like, okay, Lord, please just don't let them score a touchdown. Like, if they can just kick a field goal, that'd be great. I'm looking at it right now. The last drive, the Chargers get the ball with 2:22. And by the 2-minute warning, they're at the 49-yard line. So, it was like, again, 22 seconds there at midfield. Then on the next play, Arden Key's offsides. Herbert completes one to Keenan Allen for 14. So with 1:15 to go, they're at your 25-yard line. It's like, Lord, please do not let them score a touchdown. And the coverage did hold up, and Harold Landry got the sack. And so you end up going to overtime. Now, part of me wanted the Titans to lose the toss. Because if the Titans lost the toss, then that would mean that all they had to get was a field goal. And I don't know about you guys in the Titans offense, but I don't totally trust the Titans offense to go down the field and score a touchdown. So I much rather the Titans put the defense on the field because this is a defense-first team. Does anybody have a problem with us calling the Titans a defense-first team? Because this is a defense-first team, they put the defense on the field, and I'm like, okay, hopefully they can get a stop, and a turnover would be so nice. They can get a stop or a turnover, and then all you have to do is drive the ball 30 yards to kick a field goal, which is exactly what happened. But I was worried, too, about losing the toss and Herbert getting the ball, and one big X play to Mike Williams or one big X play to Keenan Allen, and all of a sudden you lose. And I think you guys were kind of worried about that, too. But Vrabel talking after the game kind of mentioned, we was asked about, the stops that the defense got or the stop the defense got in overtime. And every now and then Vrabel kind of lets the cat out of the bag a little bit, especially after the games when he's kind of worn down. And he explains the adjustment that Shane Bowen made after Justin Herbert walked the ball right down to the Tennessee 25-yard line at the end of regulation and what they put out there in overtime.
We were playing some zone, and it hit a couple seams on us, like what Shane did, changed up some things and got on body, and guys responded.
Okay. And then the rest of the cut is Vrabel talking about how the players made all the plays, which is Vrabel's going to do that after every game. He is never going to get up there, and he's never going to brag on himself, and he's never going to brag on the coaches. So he gets up there and he'll tell you about how they got good pressure and they had good coverage, but you heard right there. Yeah, they hit a couple of seams on us, and Shane decided to change it up. And I believe the discombobulation that Justin Herbert had in that overtime period is from the coaching adjustment of Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen kind of flies under the radar. That first year in 2020, when nobody knew if he was the defensive coordinator or not, even though we were told that he was going to have a bigger role, but Vrabel, trying to be like Belichick, decided not to give him the title. It was almost an every week thing. The defense was a disaster, and we watched it, and we're trying to figure out who to blame. And they elevated Shane Bowen. They actually elevated Shane Bowen to defensive coordinator, even though he had called the plays the year before. He had elevated Bowen to coordinator the same day he elevated Downing to coordinator, and if you can believe it or not, everybody was more bent out of shape about Shane Bowen being elevated to defensive coordinator than they were Todd Downing being elevated to offensive coordinator. But as the Titans have gotten more talent on defense, they went out and they spent on Danico Autry and they spent on Bud Dupree. And, some guys have drafted, have come in and played pretty well, and Simmons is still good and all that kind of stuff. As the Titans have done that, Shane Bowen's kind of flown under the radar because the problems with this team over the last couple of years have resided on offense and not on defense. But when it comes to what makes the Titans so good on defense, part of it is coaching. It is not an accident that the best part of this football team is its defensive line that is coached by probably its best positional coach in Terrell Williams. But normally Vrabel doesn't let the cat out of the bag. If Vrabel didn't have to do a press conference after the game, if the NFL didn't make him, I don't think he would. He certainly wouldn't do one 3 times a week like he has to, as is dictated to him by the NFL. So very rarely will Vrabel come down and say, Shane did this, or Tim did this, or somebody did that, or somebody. The only time he ever really talks about a coach is when they're under fire and people are asking about the bad things. And they say, why did Derrick Henry only play 48% of the snaps against the Saints? And now he's got to defend the coach. And Vrabel will defend whatever coach it is on his team. We asked him last year if he was going to keep Todd Downing. And at 11 o'clock, he was, I don't know, we got to get the figured away with the coaching staff. And at 3 o'clock, Todd Downing was fired. He knew right there. So he's never going to throw anybody under the bus. But again, when they win, Vrabel always makes it about the players, which is admirable. But it doesn't give a lot of insight into the fans and the media and everybody else about, okay, what did they do well from a coaching standpoint? And when he tells you that Shane Bowen looked at that last drive against the Chargers and he said, we got to change this coverage, I tell you, that's good coaching. Because a lot of time these guys, during the week, they implement a plan and they work the plan, and maybe they'll make some minor adjustments here or there. But by the time you're in the fourth quarter, I mean, it's hard to sit there and say, all right, guys, everything we've been doing, we're not doing that anymore. We're doing this instead. That's hard to do. And it sounds like that's what Bowen did. And I even put in my notes, in the fourth quarter, it was obvious what the Chargers' plan was. They were going right at Trey Avery. That's like, again, with McCreary, we gave him a game ball, but it was hard to figure out exactly how good he was in coverage without actually being able to watch the full tape because they just never threw in the vicinity of McCreary because they just went at Trey Avery. And so, that last drive, the first throw was to Mike Williams for a gain of 15, tackle by Avery. The second play was a completion to Mike Williams for a gain of 9 yards and a tackle by Avery. And the third one was a throw to Parnham for a gain of 7 and a tackle by Avery and Byard. I mean, they were going Avery, 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 Avery. Shane Bowen looks at it and says, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we're changing this up. You got to give him credit for that. And not only that, this offense, I should say, the Chargers, they scored 34 points last week. They scored 24 against you, and that was with Vrabel giving them 3 points by going for it on fourth down early in the game when he had no business doing so. And, they did that without their number one corner in Christian Fulton and one of their starting safeties in Amani Hooker. Now, I don't think we should count on Fulton and Hooker much going forward because Fulton and Hooker have proven that they can't stay on the field. But that's hard to do. In the past, I know the Titans have lost some guys on defense, and it's like, I guess that's all they can do. And he can't make chicken salad if they lose guys like Simmons and Autry. But you got to give Shane Bowen credit. Did 16 points in the first game on the road, even though they gave up way too many X plays for my liking. And then this game here, we talked about how the end of the Saints game, even though they only gave up 16 points, we talked about how in the end of the Saints game, about how it wasn't good enough. Because if you're going to be a good defense, you have to get out there on the field when it matters most. You got to bow up and you got to get a stop. And on Sunday, the Titans got the stop, holding them to a field goal, which isn't great. I would have liked for them to, force a turnover from Herbert and run the clock out with Henry. But they held them to a field goal. They got a sack, a coverage sack by Landry when they needed it. And then they shut the Chargers down in overtime by flipping the script on them. And I think it discombobulated Herbert. And so we got to give Shane Bowen credit for that. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones on that if you want to weigh in on the defense. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in on that. Somebody wants to weigh in on the phantom timeout call by Vandy. Somebody texts in our phone line, by WhistleCountyHunter.com, and says, when the timeout was called by a player, you could read Clark's lips who said, who the blank called timeout. I know. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. Now, there is something about the defense that I do have a problem with. Because I think they're doing a good job. Now, they're ranked 20th in the NFL, which, but there is something that is starting to drive me crazy and expectations that need to be met. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. Hey, this week's Nashville's best deal is Campione's. That's right. Everybody likes Campione's. So that is our Nashville's best deal this week. Again, Campione's is located. It's Campione's Taste of Chicago, located at 401 Long Hollow Pike in Goodlettsville. Campione's is a family-owned, award-winning restaurant for Sumner County's best Italian dining and lunch spot. Try one of their Chicago-style hot dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, lasagna, homemade pasta, and more. Get half off a $20 gift card at theGameNashville.com/deals while supplies last.
He breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Daniel Tosh is back. Sweet Tea Tour.
It is great to be here in America. the greatest country in the world.
This Thursday, Ryman Auditorium. Late show added 9:30 p.m. On sale now. Online at Ryman.com. Don't miss your chance to see Daniel Tosh. Sponsored by PNC Bank and AXS. Proud partners of Ryman Auditorium.
The two most sought-after, most prestigious names in bridal jewelry come together for one epic event this weekend at Genesis Diamonds.
Tacori and Veragio, the world's premier designers, are showing off their entire collections. All the latest designs, many showcased for the first time ever, with up to $5,000 in savings.
Everyone loves Tacori, meticulously crafted by master artisans in their California design studio. Discover the hidden details and exceptional quality that sets Tacori apart. There's always more than meets the eye with Tacori. Come explore the entire Tacori collection, including all new Tacori fine jewelry, earrings, bracelets, eternity bands, pendants, and more.
If you're engagement ring shopping, this is a once-a-year event you can't miss. Other jewelers aren't even allowed to carry these iconic American-made brands.
Also for this event, Genesis is showcasing an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds in all shapes and sizes.
Come join us and take advantage of special incentives, zero-interest financing, and as much as $5,000 in savings. This Friday through Sunday, only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Caroline Fenton here for my friends at Sean Hammond's Jiu-Jitsu Academy. They supply a very safe and family-friendly environment with classes daily. Classes range from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, cardio kickboxing, ladies and kids programs, and so much more. Black belt instructed classes for men, women, and kids of all ages. You'll gain knowledge in self-defense, get a great workout, and get in the best shape of your life. Located at 2909 Armory Drive in South Nashville, call Sean Hammond's Jiu-Jitsu Academy today to set up your free trial. Learn more at SeanHammondsBJJ.com.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
First down for the 25. Herbert looking to the far side of the field for Williams in traffic, and it's broken up. Roger McCreary was there. He had help from Murphy Bunting. They move Kelly around in the backfield. Herbert, pockets collapsing, throws off his back leg, just throwing it away. The backfield, and Herbert takes the snap. Guys were moving all over the place. Herbert dancing around, going long. Nobody's there, incomplete.
It was just good to see us stay tight in coverage and challenge. And, early on, it's like some of the calls and, they're throwing it in front of us and, just, making sure that, we're not getting the ball thrown over our head. And then it was great to be able to challenge there in overtime. Three fantastic plays executed well by the defense. Jeff had good pressure. He slipped, or that ball probably would have been out. But it was good to see really tight coverage.
There you go. Great job defense in overtime. Now, I don't know about you guys, but am I the only one that thinks the Chargers quick snapped themselves on third down? Like, that was so weird, the way that the Chargers ran that third down play. And I know, Tyron and Brentwood went crazy about Brandon Staley yesterday, and I kind of, pushed him off to the side because this isn't a Brandon Staley breakdown show. But I do think the Chargers have some serious explaining to do for losing that game on Sunday, but that's their problem, not mine. But, I do think they were trying to quick snap the Titans on third down, and instead I feel like they quick snapped themselves. Now, the Titans defense did bow up, and I think that when you guys saw Justin Herbert score 34 points in week 1 against the Dolphins, there was probably some belief that they'd come in here and probably score north of 30. Now, I kept holding on to the belief that the Titans were going to play better defense because last year they held them to 17 on the road in Los Angeles, and they ended up giving up 24, again, 3 of which directly go to Vrabel. I mean, 3 of them just, I don't even blame the defense. I blame Vrabel for that. The fact that he went for it on 4th down right around midfield, which I still won't get over. And somebody yesterday texted the text line when I went crazy about that. They said, you've got a vendetta against Vrabel. No, I don't. I have a vendetta for stupid 4th down calls when you're supposed to be a defensive team. That I don't like. But I looked up the stats this morning because I was wondering, like, where does the Titans defense rank? It's got to be pretty good, right? Like the Titans defense, I mean, they're not giving up 40 points. They held the Saints to 16 in week 1. And the Titans have the 20th ranked defense in the NFL. Now, they're 11th in points allowed, 20th in yards. And both guys, Carr and Herbert, have thrown for 300 yards, which I don't think is good. And you can't be the 20th defense in the NFL and be an elite defense, which is what we were talking about when it came into the season with the Titans defense. But here's what bothers me about the Titans defense. I like the pass rush. I think they've gotten good pressure on these quarterbacks. I think they've sacked these quarterbacks. I wish they'd turn them over a little bit more. I mean, I know they turned Carr over the one time before halftime, and they really turned Carr over the other time that they didn't call. But that's a different story. I don't even think they really came close outside of Mike Brown almost intercepting a 3rd down pass intended for Keenan Allen. I don't think the Titans really came close to turning Herbert over last week, which I don't necessarily like, but they're giving up too many big plays. You know, as far as the defense is concerned, like, they've done a good job. I mean, now they haven't played elite running backs because Kamara was out week 1, and so they faced Jamal Williams, and Eckler was out this past week, and I don't know if you guys watched Monday Night Football last night, but they will not be facing Nick Chubb. Poor guy. My goodness gracious. We'll get to that in a little bit. They will not be playing Nick Chubb this week, but I watch these other teams run the ball, like when I watch other games, and I'm like, I never have to worry about that with the Titans because between Tart and Simmons and Autry and Azeez Al-Shaair, when he doesn't get a personal foul, they'll stop the running backs. I'm not worried about them running the football. The Chargers ran for 200 yards against the Dolphins, and they barely ran the football against you. But it's the big plays. By my count, the Titans have given up 9 20 or more yard plays in the first 2 games. And they gave up a 19-yarder, so that doesn't count as one of the 9, a 19-yarder on the touchdown pass to Rashid Shaheed for the Saints. So that could have easily been a 20-yard pass. The ball just happened to be on the 19-yard line. The Titans' deficiencies can be explained on offense by the fact that the Titans just don't invest. They don't invest in the offensive line outside of DeAndre Hopkins. They don't invest at wide receiver. They don't invest. But you can't argue that on defense. They're paying both outside backers. They're paying 3 interior defensive linemen. They're kind of paying 1 inside backer. They're paying 2 safeties. They pay on defense. According to Spotrac, the Titans on offense are spending $75.5 million, and they're spending $97.8 million on defense. So if you're going to spend $97.8 million on defense, and you're going to pay all these guys all this money, you got to be better than 20th in the league. And the Titans should be better than 20th in the league on defense. The Titans should have a really good defense. And so far through 2 games, the Titans defense has done a good job. But man, they're just giving up way too many big plays. Now I do anticipate, not that Carr is the best quarterback in the world. And, you know, I said this about Herbert when he signed the contract, that I've kind of given Herbert, you know, I love Herbert, but I've given him the benefit of the doubt when the Chargers screw up, because the Chargers have always kind of had a history of screwing up. And so I figure, you know, that's kind of more the Chargers than it is Herbert. It's more this doofus coach than it is Herbert. But once you sign for $50 million a year, you have to win those games for your team, in my opinion. And Herbert didn't win the playoff game for the Chargers, didn't win the first game for the Chargers, and he had the ball at the end of the game and an opportunity to win it, and he didn't. and he had the ball at the end of the game, and he didn't win it. But I do think that as the schedule kind of lightens up with the quarterbacks here, between Deshaun, who right now is terrible, Richardson, and Lamar's not kind of a big thrower, between that, I do think that the amount of big plays the defense will give up should be limited. And I don't even know what's up with Joe Burrow. I mean, I was reading yesterday that the Bengals may consider putting Joe Burrow on IR because of the calf and having him take off 4 weeks. Well, if Joe Burrow takes off 4 weeks, then you would miss Joe Burrow in that October 1st game. So I expect the defense will do better, but, man, they're giving up way too many big plays. It's amazing, by the way. We've got like 4, 5, 10 texts, somewhere around there, texts on the defense. We talk about Henry or Tannehill, thing blows up. We talk about the defense, it's like, oh, yeah, defense. I mean, this is supposed to be a team that is led by its defense. This is supposed to be a team that is dominant on defense. Because with this offensive line, that's probably the only way you're going to win. 615-737-1025. We will hit some of those phones, as I mentioned, 615-737-1025. But I do want to get to this. I watched the Kansas City-Jacksonville game. Now, I don't think most of America watched that because they played it at noon because CBS thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to be quarterbacking the Jets, which is not their fault. Everybody thought he'd be quarterbacking the Jets. And Jets-Cowboys, with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, probably would have done a massive rating. I'm sure even with the Cowboys it did a good rating. But it would have done a massive rating, so I can't get mad at CBS. But nobody really watched the Jags and the Chiefs. I did. And boy, the national media and their Jacksonville love. Well, let's hit on that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Rebound, try out in front. And Saros covers it up.
All the big stories.
Andrew Burnett reportedly hired as the next head coach of the Predators.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Comparing goalies to running backs.
46-27 Vanderbilt.
Does this group of players need more?
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time to celebrate this fall and unleash the beast. Monster Brewing proudly presents to you Beast Unleashed. 0 caffeine, 0 sugar, all the adult beverage fun. The Beast is unleashed with great taste, bold familiar flavors, and 6% alcohol. Go wild with Mean Green, White Haze, Peach Perfect, and Scary Berries. Don't fear the Beast. Enjoy Beast Unleashed at your next tailgate or football party. Drink responsibly. Must be 21 and over.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Stick around after the sun sets. Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites.
It's Raymond and Austin. We're back on All-Star Sports Radio. Celebrating their 30th year, our sportsbook and casino sponsor, BetUS.com, is offering a 125% sign-up bonus plus up to 30 risk-free bets.
It's called Bet Protect, the perfect offer for crazy plays, like the famous butt fumble. It's the GOAT of embarrassing plays.
Really, remember when you bet me you could do a live show with a GOAT as your co-host, and he face-kicked you?
Thankfully, I didn't take the under on that one.
Anyway, folks, get Bet Protect today. The industry's biggest 125% sign-up bonus plus up to 30 risk-free bets. BetUS.com, where the game begins.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Football is back, and so are the deals at Electronic Express. Come into any of our convenient locations and save big on 4K TVs from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, housewares, Bluetooth speakers, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 60 months special financing. Score amazing deals in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
The celebration! One of the most beloved comedians on earth, Dave Chappelle, is hitting the road with a tour celebrating his birthday with you.
This Thursday, Bridgestone Arena.
You know who he is. You know what he does. Comedic genius Dave Chappelle. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
What a great birthday.
Celebration record.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff. It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The decision for Doug Peterson,
no
going for it.
Yeah.
The three doesn't do anything for them.
No.
There's 4.5 minutes to go in this fourth quarter, and it's an 8-point game.
And you're turning it back over to Patrick Mahomes in that offense. You have to go for it here.
On fourth down, Lawrence, step to the end zone. It's caught, but Calvin Ridley was out. Incomplete. L'Jarius Sneed holds up once again for Kansas City.
And this is where a defensive back understanding where you are on the field, that the back, all that white back there is an extra defender for you. So just put yourself in a spot where he can't come down with it and make them throw it over you where there's no space. And you see the first foot hits out of bounds over the back end, over the end line. Good job by L'Jarius Sneed understanding what he had to work with and play with. Not much margin for error for Calvin Ridley coming down with it.
There you go. That was the end of the game. The Chiefs win 17-9 against Jacksonville. Kansas City was able to run out the clock. And so I know you guys, we spent all summer listening to every national media member tell us about how good Jacksonville was going to be. Colin Cowherd ranked them 6th in the NFL to start the season. Peter King had them as the number 1 seed in the AFC in his preseason predictions. We took apart everybody out there that said Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next Joe Burrow. He's the next one. He is going to ascend. Look at what they did at the end of the season. I'm like, you mean where they barely beat Josh Dobbs and the Titans on a controversial refs call, and then they had to have a massive come-from-behind victory against the pants-crappingest team in the league and the Chargers, who, by the way, we got a first-hand sight of that pants-crapping on Sunday, and then with Patrick Mahomes hurt, they couldn't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? That's the team? You know, when the Bengals got their hype and everybody, started to bow down to Joe Burrow, that was, when they won the AFC. Jacksonville didn't do that. So I watch a game. I didn't want a box score scout. I hate that because everybody does that to the Titans. So luckily with NFL Plus, they've got condensed games where they take an NFL game and they basically put it into 30 minutes. So you just watch. And so I just watched yesterday, doing a little cardio, watching the Chiefs and the Jags. And I walked away from that thinking that Kansas City's never going to play worse than they played in that football game. You will never get Kansas City to play worse than they did on Sunday. If Kansas City played the way that they played last year In the Sunday night football game against the Titans with Malik Willis at quarterback, the Titans would have won that game going away. The problem was Trevor Lawrence just wasn't that good. In fact, Trevor Lawrence stunk. And Jacksonville stunk. Kansas City turned the football over 3 times, including a Richie James punt that he dropped inside the 15-yard line. That should be automatic points. Jacksonville had a 1st and goal at the 1. Wasn't even that possession where James fumbled the ball. It was a different possession. Jacksonville had a 1st and goal at the 1 and ended up kicking a field goal. Jacksonville was terrible. All we ever hear about is how good Doug Peterson is as far as, he's such a great offensive coach and Lawrence is such an ascendant quarterback, and maybe they will be that way this year. But Trevor Lawrence's offense on Sunday had 271 total yards. That's passing and rushing combined. The Titans, whose offense absolutely stinks, had 341 yards of total offense on Sunday. And again, the Chiefs defense, they're not terrible, but I don't think any of us think that the Chiefs are the 2000 Ravens. Travis Kelce, here's how bad the Chiefs played, while discussing Jacksonville. Here's how bad Kansas City was. Kansas City turned the football over 3 times, including the Richie James punt. Mahomes literally just gifted them an interception by throwing the ball deep, and Andre Sisco intercepted it. Travis Kelce dropped the touchdown pass, and yet Jacksonville still couldn't do anything. How often are you going to play Kansas City where Travis Kelce's going to drop a touchdown pass? Mahomes is clearly not in sync with these wide receivers. How many times is that going to happen? And the other thing, too, the Jags were 0 of 3 in the red zone, which led to their 3 field goals. And it's not like Kansas City was putting up 40 points and this was going to be a shootout and they had to score. But they were 0 of 3 in the red zone, and Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball out of bounds. When a guy makes a catch, but he gets 1 foot in, that is you throwing the ball out of bounds. Trevor Lawrence had 4 touchdowns that he just missed on, one of which he led a receiver into the goalpost. Kansas City committed 12 penalties for 94 yards. Jawan Taylor, the right tackle, who they got from Jacksonville and paid a fortune for, Jawan Taylor had 7 false starts in the game, which he really needs to stop doing. It's like when teams lose games in the NFL, the question is usually, why'd you lose? Did you turn the ball over a lot, Jacksonville? No. Did you miss field goals? No. Did you have breakdowns and give up a bunch of yardage to the other team? And did they, have a bunch of X plays? No. So why did Jacksonville lose? Jacksonville lost because they were 0 of 3 in the red zone, 0 of 2 on 4th down, 3 of 12, 25% on 3rd down. They had a combined of 64 plays. They had a combined 271 yards of total offense. They didn't run the ball at all, and they threw for 197 net passing yards. That's why they lost. They averaged 4.3 yards per pass. That's terrible. They had a time of possession. They had 64 offensive plays, and they had 28 minutes of possession. That's horrendous. And you will never get the Chiefs to play that poorly ever again. And yet, I don't hear people talking about what's wrong with Jacksonville. Jacksonville in a dogfight week 1 with Indianapolis. Jacksonville plays terribly in week 2 against Kansas City. And I don't hear all these shows that spent all year telling us how good, all offseason, how good Jacksonville's going to be. They lose in the division round, and it's like, hey, Jacksonville, it's going to be okay because you guys are going to reign on that division for the next 25 years with Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback. He's the next Joe Burrow. Then every single publication comes out. Everybody's picking Jacksonville. We're sitting here saying, again, not trying to sound like local homers, but we're sitting here saying, go back to the game last year where you had a backup offensive line and a third-string quarterback. And again, was it a fumble? Was it an incomplete pass away from you winning that game on the road? And everybody forgot about it. The Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins on that Sunday. And on ESPN radio, I'm driving out to the lake, and they've got TD right here on 102.5. And the host asked TD, Teron, do you think that the Titans can now compete with Jacksonville with DeAndre Hopkins? And he's like, I kind of thought they could the whole time. But not that I've been going out there and flipping on all the channels saying, okay, let's talk Jacksonville, ESPN. But nobody's talking about it. And Lawrence was awful in that game against Kansas City. If Tannehill played the way Lawrence played on Sunday, we'd have loaded phone lines for 4 hours. And see, this is why getting drafted by Jacksonville might be the best thing that's ever happened to Trevor Lawrence. Because Trevor Lawrence was bad for a year and a half. Bad for a year and a half, and nobody paid attention. Nobody made a big deal about it. Zach Wilson was bad for a year and a half, and they booed him out of town. Trevor Lawrence gets all the hype when things go well, but they never talk about him when he fails. Zach Wilson thrust into an unforgivable situation where, Aaron Rodgers is hurt, and he's got no tackles, and he's going up against Micah Parsons. And it's like Jet fans are about to hit the panic button because of what happened Sunday against the Cowboys. And everybody thinks it's over and they're terrible and Wilson's awful and all of this. And nobody ever talks about it when it comes to Lawrence. Lawrence only gets credit for the good things he does. He never gets blamed for the bad things he does. If the Titans lost to Kansas City and Kansas City played the same way that they played against Jacksonville, I'd be furious. Because you're not going to get that kind of opportunity against Kansas City very often. You got it a couple of years ago, and you kicked their brains in. You're not going to get that, where they're turning the football over, they're dropping touchdown passes, they're committing penalties left and right. Mahomes is on an island by himself. You're not going to get that very often. And that's what they were. And again, nobody's talking about it. Boy, that Jawan Taylor, he's terrible too, by the way. All that money Kansas City paid him to play at left tackle. Then they moved him back to right tackle. Now he gets a false start on every snap. He's terrible. Whew. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Again, if you want to weigh in on that, we'll get to some of your phones as we promised. And then, of course, last night, I want to hit another thing from the NFL. Last night, boy, what an ugly injury to Nick Chubb. And luckily, ESPN didn't even show it to us. We'll get to that next here on Stillman & Company. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, 1025, 106 through the game.
Vanderbilt football lives here.
This Saturday, it's Vanderbilt and Kentucky from First Bank Stadium. Coverage starts at 9:30 a.m. Kickoff at 11.
Your home for the Commodores is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey guys, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet GMC in Shelbyville. It's finally football season in Tennessee, which means sweaters, tailgates, and pumpkin spice lattes. Wait, it's still almost 90 degrees outside. Where's the fall weather? I guess we'll just have to keep waiting and sweating it out, even at football games for now. But don't wait on cooler temps to commit to making sure your car's running smoothly, even if you're still running the AC. It might be time to check the oil, all the fluid levels, and just a basic once-over to make sure that when the weather finally does cool off, you won't be left out in the cold, literally or figuratively. Let our service center give you peace of mind and offer you great savings while you're at it. Save on basic services like tire rotations, fluid services, and brake checkups with up to $25 in savings this month at Newton Chevrolet GMC. Just a short drive away from Murfreesboro. Visit NewtonChevroletGMC.com to schedule a fall service checkup today. That's NewtonChevroletGMC.com.
It's time for another Kubota Field event hosted by Coleman Tractor of Nashville. Our biggest sales event of the year will take place on Thursday, September 21st at the Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot. Stop by our booth to learn all about Kubota. Zero-turn mowers, utility vehicles, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers, receive a coupon for up to $250, plus enter to win prizes. Try it and buy it at Coleman Tractor of Nashville during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot at the Nashville Gun Club, Thursday, September 21st. The event kicks off at 7:30 a.m.
The two most sought-after, most prestigious names in bridal jewelry come together for one epic event this weekend at Genesis Diamonds.
Tacori and Viraggio, the world's premier designers, are showing off their entire collections. All the latest designs, many showcased for the first time ever, with up to $5,000 in savings.
Everyone loves Tacori, meticulously crafted by master artisans in their California design studio. Discover the hidden details and exceptional quality that sets Tacori apart. There's always more than meets the eye with Tacori. Come explore the entire Tacori collection, including all new Tacori fine jewelry, earrings, bracelets, eternity bands, pendants, and more.
If you're engagement ring shopping, this is a once-a-year event you can't miss. Other jewelers aren't even allowed to carry these iconic American-made brands.
Also for this event, Genesis is showcasing an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds in all shapes and sizes.
Come join us and take advantage of special incentives, zero-interest financing, and as much as $5,000 in savings. This Friday through Sunday, only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Real estate investors, get ready for an incredible opportunity. D&M Development is thrilled to announce the Phase 1 presale of 16 non-owner occupied short-term rentals in Nashville's exclusive resort-style community, the New Cumberland. Nestled between Germantown and East Nashville, this exceptional location offers stunning views of the city and the Cumberland River. Each unit features spacious kitchen, 4 bedrooms, and 4 baths, providing the ultimate luxury experience for your guests. Resort-style pools and a wide range of amenities. Don't miss out on this exclusive investment chance. Visit thenewcumberland.com for more information and secure your spot in this extraordinary community.
One is a legendary NFL wide receiver.
I gotta be prepared. I have to be ready.
One is a legendary Nashville voice.
You don't have to rely on carrying the ball 250 to 300 times.
And the other has been a legendary trash talker on the playground since the 4th grade.
Nobody is a Pro Bowler on day 1 of rookie minicamp.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Here's Chubb trying to pick his way inside the 5, and he does. Knocked down at the 3. Ball came out, but he was down. Minkah Fitzpatrick gets the tackle, but a gain of 5. And the last thing any Browns fan wants to see, Nick Chubb holding his left leg.
Oh, boy.
And Minkah Fitzpatrick is down for the Steelers. I am told that the replay of Nick Chubb getting injured is not to be seen.
Yeah, we're not going to show it. It's as bad as you can imagine.
They just showed it on the big screen here in Pittsburgh, and the crowd gasped.
Who was watching that last night? So I sat down to watch the game. I'm sure a lot of you watched it, not because, it was a good game, Steelers and Browns, Monday Night Football, but also because the Titans are getting ready to play the Browns. And I was sitting down, I was rooting for the Browns last night. Deshaun throws that pick 6 to begin the game. And you know that I absolutely cannot stand Deshaun Watson. And so Deshaun throws that pick 6. And I'm like, yeah, no. I want to root against Deshaun. That's my natural inclination, but I can't because, we got to have Cleveland win. You always want them fat and happy. And at 2-0 with 2 division wins, the Browns would be feeling themselves. And so, I wanted Cleveland to win. And then I saw Nick Chubb go down. And I'm like, okay, this is a development. He's down. Let's see, because he's probably their best offensive player. And again, they're playing the Titans next week. So let's keep an eye on this. And right about when Joe Buck said we're not going to show the injury, was I like, oh, I bet that's probably pretty bad. And then to hear the Steeler fans just go, oh! Can we get that cut again? Where you can hear as Buck says, hey, like, we're not going to show you this replay. You can see that the Steeler fans on the Jumbotron got it.
I am told that the replay of Nick Chubb getting injured is not to be seen.
Yeah, we're not going to show it. It's as bad as you can imagine.
I mean, Aikman's like a dad. He's like, yeah, we're not doing that. We are not. It's almost like he was telling the truck. He had seen it on the Jumbotron, probably like everybody else. And he was like, we're not showing that on TV. Now, I'm squeamish, right? Like last year, I went to this Viking movie. Not my fault. But I went to this Nicole Kidman Viking movie, right? And they were like, killing people left and right. And I had like my hand in front of my eyes because I don't like seeing that kind of stuff. So when Buck was like, we're not going to show you the injury, I'm not somebody who's going to go looking for that. And so he's obviously out for the season. I'm not sure Nick Chubb will ever play football again. And as I'm sitting there watching this, I'm thinking to myself, this is not what I wanted to have happen to give the Titans an advantage on Sunday. I wanted Cleveland to win. I wanted it to be a physical game, where on a short week, Cleveland would have all that positivity and all that rat poison, and they'd, be so high and mighty going into the game Sunday, and they'd overlook the Titans, and the Titans will walk in there and they'd beat them. And that's what I was hoping for. Not Nick Chubb loses his leg in the game, which is what happened last night. And yet at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, you know what? This is the NFL. And that's why this is such a dangerous game. And I remember the Nick Chubb ACL injury against Tennessee like it was yesterday. Crazy to think that was 8 years ago that Nick Chubb injured the knee. What's also kind of crazy, and we'll get into me putting my feelings into the cosmos here in a little bit when talking about the Vols, but I was thinking last night when they were talking about how great of a running back Chubb was before he got hurt on the broadcast. They were going over all the great things he does and, how many since 2018, how many 100-yard games he has, which is second to Derrick Henry, and about how great Chubb is. And I was like, I remember when Chubb got hurt in college. And ever since then, Chubb has been a very durable back. He got hurt in college, and he was kind of an injury concern going into the draft. Remember, Sony Michel went in the first round. Chubb didn't. And so it's kind of impressive that Chubb has been as healthy as he's been. And then not 5 minutes later, that play happened. I was like, oh, God, it was ugly. And again, like I said, I want the Titans to beat the Browns on Sunday, and the Titans have a much better chance to beat the Browns on Sunday with Nick Chubb not in there, but I didn't want it to happen like that. That was brutal. Texter into the text line says that it's the same leg Chubb injured in 2015. I don't think it matters. When Jordan Schultz put out there that with Chubb, I believe it was a dislocated knee, an MCL, a PCL, and an LCL. So everything but the ACL, I think, for Chubb. And that there's even more ligament damage or something like that. I'm thinking Teddy Bridgewater. The injury that Bridgewater suffered in that practice where they were afraid they were going to have to amputate his leg. And Teddy Bridgewater's career was never the same after that injury. And at Nick Chubb, a running back who's probably, 28 years old? 27 years old? I'm not sure Nick Chubb will ever play again. And if he does play again, I think it might be a miracle, given all the damage that's been done to that knee, especially after he had all that damage done to that knee in college, too. But, man. And then the other part of it is, this is where we learn how valuable running backs really are. Because Chubb's one of the guys that's gotten paid. And he's one of the guys that is worthy of getting paid. And when we talk about how important Derrick Henry is for the Titans, Nick Chubb is as important for the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns have paid Deshaun Watson a fortune. They're paying Amari Cooper $20 million a year at wide receiver. And Amari Cooper is good. But Chubb was kind of the engine of that offense. Over the last couple of years, they kind of had a little two-headed monster going on with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But they've let Kareem Hunt go away, And so Chubb was their main guy. Now he's hurt. Now they got this Ford in the backfield. If there's any owner in the NFL that is going to pick up the phone and say to his GM and his coach, call the Colts, give them whatever to get a running back, it's Haslam, the most impulsive owner in the NFL. But even then, I think there's a chance that these guys might be like, you know what, we want to, let's be careful here. Let's see if we can get by with the running backs that we have. Let's not.
The reports are that Kareem Hunt is going to Cleveland for a visit today.
And so, but they don't want him. He's been there the last couple of years, right?
Was he? Yeah, I guess he was. Originally with Kansas City and then to Cleveland and then not on a team. He's been a free agent this whole offseason, so he hasn't picked a team. He's gone to a few visits. He's been with the Browns before, so maybe some type of reunion there.
So he was the baddest boy when he was in Kansas City. And then he kicked that woman in the face, and they released him with the Chiefs. And then he signed with the Browns, and he's been with the Browns for, I want to say, 3 or 4 years. And each year he has become less and less valuable to them, and they've been more focused on Chubb. And then I don't think they had any interest in re-signing him. I mean, Kareem Hunt is not somebody that's going to scare me on Sunday against the Titans.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the explosion of Nick Chubb. But
I mean, he was 3.5. So here was the thing. In Kansas City, when he was really good, he was 4.9 yards per attempt. In 2021, Kareem Hunt was 4.9 yards per attempt. Last year, he was 3.8 yards per attempt. And the Browns invest in the offensive line. This isn't like the Titans' offensive line. The Browns invest in their offensive line. So I'm thinking...
Although they lost Conklin again for the year.
Yeah, Conklin, he's kind of a lost cause, it feels like. And I want to say they got somebody else hurt.
They're beat up. Yeah, I mean, Newsome left the game early. I think he's kind of day-to-day. I think Ward might have left the game early. He's kind of day-to-day. A lot of players were getting hurt in that game last night. I mean, it's a quick turnaround. Physical game on the road for Cleveland will not be easy.
Well, when I saw the schedule come out, I love the fact that the Browns had to play the Steelers in Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football and then play you on a short week, because those Browns-Steelers games are traditionally incredibly physical and very emotional. Like those AFC North rivalries, that's the only division in the NFL where, I really feel, maybe the NFC East too, where I feel like those rivalries get really personal. And I think some of that's because the coaches have been there for so long, like Tomlin and Harbaugh. But those AFC North battles, I mean, those are personal. And I was very excited about that. I wasn't thinking oh, yeah, maybe Nick Chubb's career will end before they play the Titans, and that is, in fact, what's happened. And so then there's a part of me that's kind of bummed out by it, even though I know that it's going to help the Titans on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Ian says it's all my fault that the Vols got embarrassed on Sunday at Florida.
Not just me.
I will admit, I did not see that coming. But I think we've got an answer to the question that we had. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 The Game.
Green right, Fox 2 run, double K's. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, take!
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Half of me wants a cool. Hey Nashville, Thomas Rhett here. My Home Team Tour 23 is on sale now.
Thomas Rhett, Home Team Tour 23 with special guests Cole Swindell and Nate Smith. Friday, September 29th, Bridgestone Arena. On sale now.
Get your tickets at livenation.com and come party with us.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Now, your Game Center update.
After getting their first win of the season on Sunday over the Chargers, the Tennessee Titans will be turning the page to Week 3 when they travel to Cleveland to face the Browns. The Titans and quarterback Ryan Tannehill had a bounce-back week after failing to score a touchdown in Week 1. ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck was on with Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace and talked about what he noticed from Tannehill versus the Chargers.
I think when you see 7 or more guys have receptions, and Ryan targeted 8 different players in the game on Sunday, but when you have 7 or more guys catch the football, what that means to me is the quarterback is seeing it right.
The Titans have made some roster moves, promoting defensive lineman Kyle Pecco from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. The Titans waived defensive lineman Jaden Peavy to make room for Pecco, and they waived defensive lineman Michael Drumfor from the practice squad. Titans versus Browns is set for noon on Sunday. The Browns will be without starting running back Nick Chubb after he was lost for the season to a knee injury last night. Free agent running back Kareem Hunt is set to visit Cleveland today. The University of Tennessee announced a contract extension for head men's basketball coach Rick Barnes through the 27-28 season. The Nashville Sounds begin their final series of the season tonight at First Horizon Park as they take on Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. First pitch is set for 6:35 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air. Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So for some reason, everybody that likes the Vols seems to think that I hate the Vols. I do not hate the Vols. Now, growing up, I did root against the Vols, but that doesn't mean that at 33, and I'll be 34 next week, who's getting me a present, that at 33 years old, that I hate the Vols now. I don't. Now, I've been hard on the Vols, but I've been hard on the Vols when they do things like prop up Butch Jones, or when their fans throw a protest over hiring a football coach. That's when I get mad at the Vols. I got mad at the Vols when they extended Jeremy Pruitt. And you all said, Jared Fulmer is getting in front of it now so that when Alabama calls, they'll be able to say that they always had his back. Okay? So on Friday, when I told everybody who was a Tennessee fan, who was worried about the Vols, 6-point favorites going on the road in the swamp to Florida, taking on that terrible Florida team with that terrible Florida quarterback. When I said, don't worry, they're going to win, Ian and a cadre of others started to believe that I was doing that on purpose to put it into the cosmos so that Tennessee would lose to Florida. That is, in fact, not what happened. What happened was I really thought Tennessee was going to go to the Swamp and beat the crap out of Florida. I was shocked and somewhat appalled by what I saw on Saturday night. Tennessee marches right down the field and scores after Florida misses a field goal. Tennessee marches right down the field, and they make it 7-0, and I tweeted out, the route is on. You know, this was going to be 35-13. This was going to be, Tennessee was going to, and then all of a sudden, Florida hands the ball off to Etienne, the brother of the other Etienne, and I think it was number 5 for Tennessee, tried to run into the running back, but he didn't try to tackle him. He just tried to run in and knock him down, and Etienne just stayed up and ran into the end zone for a touchdown. And I thought, okay, that's a fluky play. That's, that'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, Florida could not be stopped. And this looked like a Tennessee versus Florida game of old. And this Florida team that was horrendous on the opening kickoff against Utah, who was playing a backup quarterback, all of a sudden looked like the Tim Tebow Gators. And Twitter blamed me. And Ian blamed me. And all these people out there blame me. But I was just as dumbfounded as everybody else. So here's what I've realized about Saturday's performance. For years and years and years, Vol fans have wondered, when are the Vols going to be back? And when the Vols beat Alabama, Vol fans ecstatically proclaimed that the Vols are back. And I was right there with you. With this coach beating Alabama, being ranked number 1 in the country in the college football playoff with a quarterback that all the NFL people told us wasn't that good. I mean, you may be onto something. The offense was explosive last year. And it didn't matter who was in there. Cedric Tillman got hurt. They went on the road to LSU, and Ramel Keaton lit him up. So I'm thinking, you know what? This is the system. This isn't the players. This is Steve Spurrier with the Florida Gators in 96 with Danny Warfel and Jaquez Green and Rydell Anthony. Like, that's what this was. Like this, that is, it's the system. It's Bobby Petrino. It's Chip Kelly. It's the next offensive guru coach. But I actually think that was more of an aberration, what we saw last year. That was Hendon Hooker was the right guy at the right time for the dream season. And that now that Hendon Hooker has gone off to the NFL, the Vols are back. The Vols are back to being what they've been for the last 20 years outside of last year. The ride's over. Joe Milton's terrible, folks. That game was awful on Saturday night. And I know everybody wants him to put the prospect in, the kid that they're paying $8 million of NIL money to, Nico Amaleava. I know they want to put him in there. But the fact that the coach isn't even entertaining the idea probably gives you an idea of how they would feel about doing that or how that would stunt his development or something like that. No, the Vols are back all right. They're back to kind of being what they always have been, which is not that big of a deal. I mean, the excitement for this Vol football season, I think that there was pessimistic excitement last year. Yeah, we like Hendon Hooker, and we thought we played well at the end of 21, and we think we got a chance to have a team that can be pretty good. And then they went down to LSU, and they just smoked LSU, and they beat Florida at home. And then, okay, it sets up this Alabama game. Like, maybe this could finally be the time. But I think Vol fans had been so battered and beaten that it was like, I will believe when I see us beat Alabama. Then they beat Alabama, and it was unstoppable at that point. You could not restrain the excitement for Tennessee fans and Tennessee football. I mean, it was a wildfire when they won that Alabama game. Then comes the huge Georgia game, and yeah, they didn't play their best in that Georgia game, and Georgia might have been the better team, but Georgia's the defending national champions. They're the best team in the country. You know, it's going to happen. The South Carolina game happened, and everybody was depressed because, you know, that was kind of the end of that run, but we all kind of felt like Tennessee football was heading the right direction. And I know you felt that way because you guys packed that Orange Bowl. And then Tennessee fans packed the stadium here against Virginia, who might not have a pulse as far as a football team is concerned. They're terrible. So you pack the stadium for Virginia, and Tennessee fans are all fired up for it. And then right when you get back into, hey, you know what? A real SEC team would go to Florida and would probably handle the Gators pretty easily. You go out there and forget how to tackle. You go out there and you forget how to run your offense. I mean, they still have the receivers. I know Jalen Hyatt's in the NFL, but Brew McCoy's pretty good. Squirrel White's pretty good. Ramel Keaton's pretty good. Like, those guys are pretty good. They still got the running back. So how did it turn into such a dumpster fire on Saturday night? And it's not just Joe Milton. Now, I mean, I said to Chad on Friday, I'm like, I think Joe Milton kind of stinks. And Chad was like, I don't think I'd say stinks. No, I feel pretty confident now in saying that I think Joe Milton kind of stinks. But it's not just Joe Milton. What it was that success you experienced last year, it was always Hendon Hooker. I said it at the 2 o'clock segment before the Virginia game that this year we're going to learn. Was it the coach? Or was it the quarterback? When a great coach goes somewhere with a great system and a great scheme and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It didn't matter at USC in the 2000. It didn't matter if it was Matt Leinart or Carson Palmer or USC was good. Mark Sanchez, Matt Barkley. It didn't matter. Now, USC wins the national title with Matt Leinart, but they were at the top of the country with the other guys, too. It didn't matter with Steve Spurrier, whether it was Jesse Palmer, whether it was Shane, what's his name? Danny Werfel, and the other
Matthews?
guy. What's that? Shane Matthews, that's it. Shane Matthews, Danny Werfel, or Jesse Palmer. Didn't matter. Didn't matter if it was Doug Sling Johnson when Spurrier was the coach. Didn't matter with Urban Meyer. He won with Chris Leak. He won with Tim Tebow. And then he won a national title at Ohio State where he lost all of his quarterbacks and won with Cardale Jones. I saw Cardale Jones on TV this week. I was like, who the hell's that? They're like, it's Cardale Jones. I was like, oh, my God, I forgot about Cardale Jones. So when it's the coach, you know, you can just keep moving on. Next quarterback. It doesn't matter. Justin Fields out. C.J. Stroud in. But when it's the quarterback, you're Mariota at Oregon, where Mark Helfrich gets a huge contract extension because Oregon's in the national championship game, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Oregon's terrible, and a couple years later, you're fired. It's Joe Burrow at LSU. They didn't want Ed O. They lost to Troy. They wanted to fire Ed O. They brought in Joe Burrow. They won the national championship. They extended Ed O. Joe Burrow left. They fired Ed O. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be that bad with Heupel long term. Heupel's not a doofus like Ed O is. But it was Hendon Hooker. That's what this all boils down to. The magical season last year was an aberration. It was an outlier. It was a blip on the radar of the last 20 years. And it was because of Hendon Hooker. And he's in Detroit. And so it wasn't that third Saturday in October last year that the Vols were back. It was last Saturday. The Vols are back to what they've been this century, which is at best the third, fourth, or fifth best SEC team at best. But the idea of Tennessee staying up towards the top, I don't think that's going to keep happening. And now they have to go find their next Hendon Hooker because he ain't coming back. 615-737-1025. We'll roll through some calls. 615-737-1025. We're going to make sure we leave plenty of time for Trevor because we got a lot to get into with Trevor between college football and the Titans. So we'll do that. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman & Company. I do have good news for Tennessee fans. In spite of the loss to Florida, we'll get to that coming up next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
New home. New energy. Same Blue Raiders.
99 yards. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
Catch every game for MTSU on 93.3 Classic Hits. Coach Rick Stockstill is poised to lead his team to yet another bowl appearance.
We're really excited about this opportunity.
Your home for the Blue Raiders is 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. It's about to start getting cooler, and it's time to start thinking about your heating system. You do not want to experience breakdowns when that first temperature drop happens, so it's time to get your heating tune-up taken care of. Luckily, happy half-off month at Hiller. Tune-ups are 50% off. This month, Hiller is making it easier than ever to tackle necessary home replacements by giving you 50% off select add-on items. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
It's Raymond and Austin. We're back on All-Star Sports Radio. Celebrating their 30th year, our sportsbook and casino sponsor, BetUS.com, is going big.
That's right, Austin. Sports bettors can win a new truck, get the industry's biggest 125% sign-up bonus, and even get up to 30 risk-free bets.
Touchdown! BetUS also has a 150% casino sign-up bonus.
Blackjack, now you're talking, Austin. They also have live dealers and live betting on sports, including racetrack.
Get started today at BetUS.com, where the game begins.
When the game goes into overtime. But the game goes into overtime. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Pick up Bud Light at your local convenience store today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Are you in the mood for authentic Chicago-style Italian food? Italian beef sandwiches, Vienna Chicago-style hot dogs? How about homemade pasta, chili, meatballs and marinara sauce, and more? Well, you need to check out this week's Nashville's Best Deal. Campione's at 401 Long Hollow Pike, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Family-owned and featured on Tennessee Crossroads, this is delicious Italian-style food right here in Tennessee. Check them out now at thegamenashville.com/deals. Get half off now while supplies last.
The celebration! One of the most beloved comedians on earth, Dave Chappelle, is hitting the road with a tour celebrating his birthday with you.
This Thursday, Bridgestone Arena.
You know who he is. You know what he does. Comedic genius Dave Chappelle. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
What a great birthday.
The celebration method.
At the Home Depot, Saturdays are about two things: getting projects done right with Behr Premium Plus interior paint
and football.
That's right, Kirk Herbstreit. And with Behr's wall-to-wall coverage and long-lasting durable finish, you'll spend less time worrying about your walls,
which means more time for football.
For football. Upgrade your Saturday with Behr and the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Coach, you mentioned disappointment in the building from the players and staff. Do you think a large part of that stems from just looking at knowing how many self-inflicted wounds there were, how many mistakes?
Yeah, you look at offensively in particular, we total, self-inflicted wounds. That can be penalties, that can be, unforced errors, it can be communication. our percentage is way too high. It was on Saturday, and it really was the week before too. And so, that's why you move the ball at times, but you don't have very many points. And we got to clean that up. You can't beat yourself.
There you go. That was Josh Heupel after, or I guess yesterday, talking about the Florida game, moving on to UTSA, Texas San Antonio, which I will not be paying much attention to unless they lose that game, and then that'll be another kind of thing to get on. But I did promise good news for Vol fans. And the good news is you might stink again, but so does the rest of the SEC. Outside of Georgia's second half against South Carolina, the SEC is atrocious. Vanderbilt, that's a whole different discussion to get. I mean, I was so disappointed by their performance on Saturday against UNLV. Florida is terrible, even though they won that game on Saturday. South Carolina played a great first half against Georgia, got spanked in the second half, and we saw South Carolina get spanked by North Carolina. The SEC's playing all these out-of-conference games, and they're getting absolutely crushed. I mean, absolutely annihilated out there in these non-conference games. So if there's any silver lining in all of this, it's that everybody else probably stinks too, except for maybe Georgia, including Alabama, who even Pee Wee has his concerns.
Pee Wee, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Eli. Coach, how are you, sir?
Well, Pee Wee, I've been wanting to talk to you all week, man. I mean, we got to firm up the pocket. We're setting too soft. We're getting pushed back in the middle. All right, everybody thinks we can't hold up against the blitz, but they're sacking us with 4-man rush, 1 3-man rush. Only 1 sack came off of a pressure, so I wanted to ask you what the hell's going on.
Well, I believe you covered it all right there, Coach.
So everybody else stinks too. By the way, I did some research on Pee Wee. I talked to somebody down in Alabama that, does this stuff, and I was like, what's this deal with this Pee Wee? Apparently, Pee Wee calls every week from Grand Bay, Alabama, calls every week and complains about the offensive line. Every week. And so, with the offensive line in the Texas game, Saban decided to get out in front and address the offensive line issues for old Pee Wee there. Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025. Oh, and the other good news for the Vols. The biggest story in college football is Deion Sanders, and it's not even close. Ian, did you stay up for Deion on Saturday night?
I was falling asleep on the couch.
I can't turn Deion off. It's 2 a.m. and I've got a pregame show to do.
Exactly. I could have easily gone upstairs and gone to bed, but I was like, you know what? I'll just lay here on the couch and fall asleep and wake up off and on and check the score. And then I turned it back on. It was overtime, and I woke up, and then it was over. So I fell asleep on the couch.
I mean, the ratings for that game were freaking massive. Let's go to your phones. Travis, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Travis is up next on the Vols. What's up, Travis?
Hey, I don't think the Vols are back as you say they are. Now I know they did have a bad game, but let's face it. Like you said, the whole SEC's had a bad few weeks. Honestly, all of them are losing. So I mean, in perspective, really. I mean, I don't think they're just back to being that bad as they were with Bush Jones and all those other guys. I feel like, and by the way, I am with you on the Deion Sanders thing. Man, I can't get enough of Deion. But I don't think that they're just that bad I just think it was a bad game all the way around.
See, I think that Joe Milton, thank you for your call, I think that Joe Milton is not very good. I don't think Joe Milton's very good. And so you talk about, I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Butch Jones years. I mean, they were an 8-4 team for the most part when Butch Jones was the coach. And that's probably what this Tennessee team is too, right? Tennessee's already lost 1 to Florida. They got to play Alabama, who stinks. Alabama freaking blows, by the way. For, Alabama say. I mean, I know we joke around about Pee Wee.
They could not figure that quarterback situation out at all, could they?
They're all bad. And I watch a game against South Florida, and I'm like, they're fumbling punts. I'm like, this is Nick Saban. So maybe they'll win the Alabama game, but that's in Tuscaloosa, so they'll probably lose. They'll lose to Georgia. So now you're at 3 losses, and I can't imagine Tennessee won't lose another game on top of that. You're 8-4. That's what you were with Butch Jones. So when you're like, I don't think that it's really going to be, I mean, that's...
Well, they don't want Butch Jones.
But that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to be 8-4 this year. 8-4, 9-3, God forbid 7-5. But that's what you're going to be. By the way, it is amazing to me how Dion literally has time to do every interview. Have you noticed that? He's on every show.
He's everywhere.
I think he did 3 separate interviews with Pat McAfee in like a 2-day period.
I saw he was on Rich Eisen, ESPN, First Take, all of them.
He's on Skip and, I would say Skip and Shannon, but Shannon's on First Take now. He's on Skip Bayless's show, Skip and the Skipettes, although those 3 talk and Skip just sits there in the corner now on the show, which is a very odd show. But he does that show. He did First Take. He did McAfee. He did College Game Day, Big Noon Kickoff, 60 Minutes. And the thing about America is they cannot get enough Dion. And I'm right there with everybody else. I cannot get enough Dion. He did Tom Brady's podcast yesterday. I mean, there's not enough hours in the day for
He's
Dion.
all about the eyeballs and the exposure to Colorado. Like, he's taking that to the next level. Like, there's no amount of exposure is too much, and he, bring it on.
Rob says, how long do they ride with Milton? I know that they don't have options, but is it 2 losses or 3 before Nico takes over? At some point, Tennessee fans have to stop telling us how far Milton can throw a ball. Like, yeah, he can throw a ball, but he stinks. I mean, I don't know. Like, do you ruin the kid if you put him out there before he's ready? I think that's really the concern, right? If you put the kid out there before he's ready, you could ruin him. Not sure I'd like that. Texter says, as usual, the Vols look bad for one game and now the sky is falling. Can you ever look at anything objectively instead of emotionally? I mean, the whole it's one game thing, that doesn't apply to college football because there's only 12 games in the season. And half of them are gimmies, right? Like half of them, when you're at Tennessee, half of them you should win every time. You should not lose to Kentucky. Like you should win that game. So how many games over the course of a year are big games for Tennessee? 3? 4? So 4 days out of a 365-day year. I'd say losing to Florida when you were a 6-point favorite is a very big deal. I don't think it's one game. Texter says, it sucks that Dion and Colorado have to play Oregon and USC without Travis Hunter. That was a dirty hit on Travis Hunter the other day. By the way, I am kind of, stuck between a rock and a hard place here with this Colorado-Oregon game this weekend.
Yeah, you can't root against Oregon, but then you'd have to root against Coach Prime.
That's tough, right? So Will Stein's the offensive coordinator at Oregon. He and I are very good friends. We went to college together. And, I mean, it's Coach Stein versus Coach Prime on Saturday. By the way, I texted him last night. I said, is it personal this week? He didn't text back. Do you think he knew that I was going to say on air, like if he was like, yeah, it's personal this week?
He's too busy.
No, he's not. I did just have a baby, but again, nah. I mean, when he was at Texas San Antonio, where he was the offensive coordinator last year, if you have YouTube TV and you have the sports package so that you could get Red Zone before, it all got fakaked with Sunday Ticket, you pay a little extra and you get all these extra channels. Like you get Stadium, which shows random sounds games on there. And they have CUSA. And so I would watch UTSA, who was really good in Conference USA last year. I'd watch those games because he was a coordinator. And I'd be going crazy when they'd win. Now he's at Oregon, and it's like, man, now you got to play D. Now I care about the teams you're playing and playing against. That's hard for me. But I can root for both, right?
Sure.
There you go. Trevor joins us coming up next. We'll do one segment with Trevor about college football. We'll do one segment with Trevor of his breakdown of the Titans, and we'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 for the game.
Every day we are live and local.
It will help them get better players. I'm really excited about this defensive front.
And your source for Nashville sports.
They had missed the playoffs.
Those players may end up being practice squad guys.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The saga continues worldwide. The legends of hip-hop and icons of New York, Wu-Tang Clan and Nas present New York State of Mind Tour 2023. Wu-Tang Clan and Nas together live in concert in Nashville this Wednesday at Bridgestone Arena. Wu-Tang Clan and Nas. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
Football is back, and so are the deals at Electronic Express. Come into any of our convenient locations and save big on 4K TVs from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, housewares, Bluetooth speakers, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 60 months special financing. Score amazing deals in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey folks, Joe Rexford here talking to you about PhD weight loss. I had a goal when I went into this program, losing 38 pounds, got down 39, then went past the 40 mark, but I'm in maintenance now, and maintenance is a fantastic plan as well. Keeping the weight off, losing the weight, no pills, no gimmicks, no other suppressants. This was a fantastic plan with a weekly coach call with my coach Rachel. You understand what is going on with your body in this process. The program is designed for you. Then it is tweaked for you. It is a plateau busting program. And if you've tried to lose weight on other programs, you know how it goes. You do it for a while, it might work, then you get sick of it, move on to something else. PhD weight loss does not give you that experience. You are going to stick with it. It's easy to stick with it, and then you're going to keep the weight off. You're going to know this is simple and easy. Again, you have a coach, and there's a guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight at the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. Join me now. You won't regret it. Visit myphdweightloss.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
We didn't attain it the way we desired, but a win is a win. You're going to have those type of games, those type of contests throughout the season. The best thing to do is to be resilient when you're not playing your best, to be resilient when your opponents are playing their butts off, and you're able to come back and win the football game in the manner that we did. So we're thankful, we're appreciative, but now it's on to the next chapter. We've announced a sellout for all the home games this season. First time in the history, we've sold out every home game in the season. ESPN announced 9.3 million viewers, most watched late game ever. Fourth best regular season game in the last 6 years. ESPN fifth most watched game ever. Most streamed game of all time. Peaked at 11.1 million viewers from 9 to 9:15 Mountain Time. CSU had 25.3 million viewers through 3 weeks. This means a lot of eyeballs.
There you go, Coach Prime. Not only is everybody talking Coach Prime all the time, he's doing every interview out there, and He wants you to know how much people are watching Colorado. I get it. People can't get enough of it. I stayed up, Trevor. I stayed up until about 2 in the morning watching the Colorado State game. I was incredibly invested. I was, again, wowed by Shedeur Sanders. Trevor, the Colorado phenomenon, what do you make of it?
So much fun. It's so refreshing. It's so exciting. And you talk about staying up until the end of that game. I mean, the kickoff was 10 o'clock Eastern, and pre-game, the two teams were at each other. They had to be separated pre-game because of all the talk that happened during the week and the rivalry and the Coach Prime phenomenon. And then the Colorado State coach fired back, and the Colorado coach and players responded to that, and so right from the very beginning of this game, it was personal, like Coach Prime likes to say. And so it was compelling. And that's the thing. The game itself has a lot to talk about, but the show was just incredible. And in a college game that had trended towards where the NFL has gone, which is to say, not a lot of fun, not enough personality, people worried about their brand and how they're building their brand. And they have managers and agents that teach them what to say and what not to say. And everybody sounds like Tom Brady at a post-game press conference, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you've got Coach Prime in Colorado out there completely upsetting the apple cart. And from a pure entertainment standpoint, it is gold.
Trevor, to that game, one, what did you think of the Travis Hunter hit? And two, how disappointing is it that Travis Hunter won't play this week against Oregon?
I'll start with two first. It's incredibly disappointing. He would be the best player on the field for either team. And Oregon's offense has been lighting it up. Travis Hunter is a legitimate first-round NFL draft choice caliber shutdown corner. And not having him is massive for their defense. It's also massive for the offense because the offensive line of Colorado is still a work in progress. They don't run the ball well, really at all. They don't pass protect consistently well. And so not having Hunter as a receiver takes away one of the best targets for Shedeur Sanders, which means that he can't get the ball out of his hand as quickly as he normally could because there's one less threat that Oregon's defense has to worry about. So that makes a big difference not having Sanders there. The hit itself, it made my blood boil, actually. I played 12 years in the NFL, and I love the controlled violence of football when it's done within the rules and when it's done ethically. But that was flagged as a personal foul. But even so, there's personal fouls that you don't shake your head at and make your blood boil. That one did. Because this guy, Travis Hunter, is a Heisman candidate and a future first-round draft choice and future NFL player. And some schmo from Colorado State, after the ball hit the ground right in front of him, he's a safety. He's coming over now to the left sideline. The ball hits the ground right in front of him. The corner that was covering Hunter was slowing down. Hunter was slowing down. He was no longer protecting himself. The whistles were blowing. It was clear to the safety, it had to be, that the play was over, and yet he kept going. And in that undefended position that Hunter was in, the safety smashed him in the ribs. And he went down and stayed down for a while. Now, he tried to come back into the game. He ended up in the hospital, and we don't technically know if that's the hit that put him in the hospital because he did come back in the game. But certainly when I saw that happen, my thought was that the hit, now I'm not talking about the player. I don't know the player. I'd never heard of the guy. So this is not personal to him, but the hit itself, the action, I thought was unnecessary. I thought it was dangerous. I thought it was cheap, but I thought it was cowardly.
Trevor Maddich,
how very brave to hit a guy in the ribs when he's not defending himself.
Yeah, Trevor Maddich is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters, and Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. So, Trevor, does Colorado have a chance this week against Oregon?
It's hard to see what the chance is. I mean, the reason they won 3 games was two things. One is you had several outstanding defensive backs. One, Shiloh Sanders. He had a pick six in the game against Colorado State. That's Deion Sanders' son. He's wearing 21, his dad's number. And he's been fantastic. Travis Hunter at corner made some wonderful, amazing defensive plays to keep them in the TCU game, for example. And you've got other guys. You've got one linebacker, 43. I don't know his name. I think it's Woods. had a pick in the end zone against Colorado State and another pick in the end zone against TCU. I mean, some individual great plays on defense, but overall their defense isn't a shutdown, stop you defense. Mm-hmm. They've got a few great players that make some great plays. On offense, they win with an all-timer of a quarterback in Shedeur Sanders and about 5 guys that can catch the ball in space and run with it. And an offensive coordinator in Sean Lewis, who is a master at scheming those guys into space. Well, now they got one less guy on offense to go into space, Travis Hunter. He's out with that injury. And so without a defense that really will be able to stop Oregon, without an offensive line that'll be able to really control the clock and keep the Oregon offense off the field, they are back to what got them to 3-0, which is Shedeur Sanders throwing to a handful of guys. Well, Oregon is a better defense than anything that they've faced. And Oregon has 3 game tapes to look at. So I think on this one, Colorado State almost beat Colorado because of their pressure on Shedeur Sanders, essentially. Oregon is going to be able to pressure him even more. And so I just don't see a path to victory for Colorado this week.
Deion's going to come after you. You don't believe.
Yeah, well, I think Deion agrees. He's got to agree at some point, because how is he going to beat him? I mean, you look at how the Titans beat people.
Because they believe. They're coming.
Yeah, because they believe.
They believe. You don't believe.
Believe is good. And I'll tell you this, man, it's been belief that has really got them to this point, because there's not enough yet on Colorado's roster for them to believe in, except for a handful of guys on both sides of the ball making plays that often are not very probable. But it's been a fun party, and I think it will continue to be a party. It will just be different. Right now they're 3-0. They're ranked. They're about to run into a couple of buzzsaws. Now, if they're able to beat the likes of Oregon, USC, those kinds of teams, or at least play them close, then we have a different conversation. But if all they do is get 3 more wins and get to a bowl after their recent history as probably the worst team in college football for the last several years, it will be a magnificent success. It just won't be that, challenge for the playoff kind of success that people want, but that's not realistic.
Do you think that the way that this is all transpired, that more athletic directors are going to take chances on hires, and that maybe college coaches will be less rigid, less anti-NIL, more pro? I mean, what Deion's done is I think he's brought the vision of what the XFL had to Colorado, and it's exploded. Do you think we'll see more of that?
I think to a degree, because recruits will love this. I mean, brash recruits that think that they are all that and want to be huge superstars, they step right onto a huge stage with Coach Prime, putting him in position. And Coach Prime talks all the time about how we told them that we were going to put them in position to be stars, and here we are. And look at the sideline in this game against Colorado State. Game day was there. You had The Rock, Lil Wayne. You had all kinds of rappers, all kinds of actors. It was just an amazing spectacle. And what do recruits want? They want to be stars. That gets you NIL. That gets you all kinds of stuff. So the problem is you can only get away with that if you can get away with that. Deion Sanders can get away with that because of his personality. Nick Saban will never be that guy. But no one will say that Nick Saban has to be like Deion Sanders in order to be successful. Kirby Smart, same way. Never going to be that guy. Matter of fact, who can be? So you've got to be very careful to not be inauthentic when you go out there and try to replicate what he's doing there, because it just won't work if it's not authentic. And Deion's one of the few people on the planet that can sell it with originality and with genuineness.
Trevor Maddich is presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics and by Twin Peaks. All right, Trevor's breakdown of the Titans, and specifically the offensive line and the offensive play calling and all the things we didn't like from week 1. What do you think in week 2? That's next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, your Nashville Sounds return to First Horizon Park to host Jacksonville.
Gloves, grabs, guns, gets them, and the Sounds win again.
Pre-game at 6:20.
Nashville Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Smashville, Predators hockey is back.
And you don't want to miss the biggest party on Broadway as we celebrate 25 years of Smashville all season long. Get your tickets now for opening night on October 12th as your Nashville Predators face off against the Seattle Kraken. Secure your seats now for the home opener at NashvillePredators.com/single-game-tickets. That's NashvillePredators.com/single-game-tickets. Let's go, Preds.
The two most sought-after, most prestigious names in bridal jewelry come together for one epic event this weekend at Genesis Diamonds.
Tacori and Veragio, the world's premier designers, are showing off their entire collections. All the latest designs, many showcased for the first time ever, with up to $5,000 in savings.
Everyone loves Tacori, meticulously crafted by master artisans in their California design studio. Discover the hidden details and exceptional quality that sets Tacori apart. There's always more than meets the eye with Tacori. Come explore the entire Tacori collection, including all new Tacori fine jewelry, earrings, bracelets, eternity bands, pendants, and more.
If you're engagement ring shopping, this is a once-a-year event you can't miss. Other jewelers aren't even allowed to carry these iconic American-made brands.
Also for this event, Genesis is showcasing an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds in all shapes and sizes.
Come join us and take advantage of special incentives, zero interest financing, and as much as $5,000 in savings. This Friday through Sunday, only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks is always adding exciting cocktails to the menu, like the expertly balanced Sincoro Hall of Fame Margarita. Try it at your local lodge today.
From the beginning, they were applauded. The music that sold over 100 million records. Chicago, this Monday, First Bank Amphitheater. The music of Chicago. This Monday, First Bank Amphitheater. On sale now at livenation.com. Chicago, part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter, day one. Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but Derek, let's Professor Derek.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Trevor Maddux is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters in Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Trevor, you were critical of Tim Kelly and the play calling with the Titans in Week 1. Derrick Henry went from 48% of the snaps to 71% of the snaps in Week 2 in the overtime win against the Chargers. What did you think?
I like some of the adjustments that they made. The Chargers expected, because of the problems with the offensive line, that it would all be short passes and handoffs to Derrick Henry. And if anything went vertical, they would live with that because they thought their corners could cover. And so what they did, the Chargers, was they brought their safeties for the most part up close to the line of scrimmage. And when that ball was handed off or if it was thrown short, man, they were flying up there to gum things up. And Henry was able to push that pile. I was just amazed at how he was able to push that pile. But then what the play calling did for the Titans was early, and then occasionally after that went vertical anyway. And so the 70-yard pass to Treylon Burks down the left seam or his left sideline was magnificent. It was a play action pass. The safeties came up. They had extra blockers in there because it was play action. Only 2 guys went downfield. That was it. Derrick Henry actually flared a little bit after the play action fake, but it was max protection essentially. Only 2 guys going downfield, and it was man coverage on the left sideline. So there was time to throw. Now, the quarterback and the receiver have to do the job. And Ryan Tannehill threw an absolute dime about as far as you could throw it. That ball went a long ways in the air. And then Burks finished it. Then later in the game, Chris Moore caught one for 49 yards, kind of on the right seam, a little bit of a post. And it was the same kind of a thing. It was play action pass. He ran right past the safeties who had come up. There was no help. It was man coverage. It was tight man coverage, but now quarterback and receiver, since there was time to throw on that play, since it was man coverage, now they have to execute, and they came through. And that really was the difference in this game. They had the opportunities to go deep, and when there was protection to do it, they connected.
Trevor, what'd you think of the offensive line?
Ugh. Oh, the offensive line, bless their hearts. They fought hard. They fought hard, but they, as a group, got overmatched in a pretty bad way. I was very impressed with Tannehill. I mean, he completed 20 of 24 passes. That's like around 80%. And that was magnificent, given that on any given drop back, he knew he was going to be swarmed pretty quickly. And he was sacked a lot, and he was hurried a lot. The offensive line, they fought hard. They were overmatched. On the left side, it was very interesting, though, with your guy, Dylan Radins, playing left guard for most of the game.
What'd you think of that?
I was impressed at the beginning because, again, he fought hard. He didn't pass protect very well. And whether that's just because he still can't do it or because he hadn't had much practice because he had just come back from that ACL injury, his angles were off. So he was not in the right position to stop an inside pass rush, for example. And he still reaches around defenders and kind of hugs them instead of strikes them on the chest. Just strike him on the number with his fist, with the balls of his hands, He still is not doing that. But I don't know that that's because he can't going forward or because this is his first time back. But he was fighting like crazy. And on run plays, he actually did a fairly decent job just because he was determined to do a fairly decent job. He was finishing blocks. I mean, first play of the second quarter for the Titans offense, the ball was run to right tackle. And from left guard, Dylan Radins drove his guy kind of over there and then kept on driving him and got him a pancake. Yay, I thought it was a pretty good start. And he actually got a couple of pancakes in this game. He got beat a couple of times too. But the fact that he fought so hard, I think, was a big part of why the offense was able to work at least as well as it did. Now, going forward, how will he be? His legs looked like they were made of lead as the fourth quarter rolled on. He looked like he was just worn out, which makes perfect sense. But as now the games go on, how will he be? Now, I don't know how long it'll take for Peter Skoronski to come back. But overall, the line was bad, but, man, they fought.
I want to go through my notes on the line, and I want you to tell me if it's a fair assessment as somebody who played in the NFL, somebody who commentated on the NFL, somebody who's been around football for 50 years. I'm going to go through the linemen. I thought Andre Dillard is incredibly inconsistent. I thought, on the Derrick Henry 23-yard run, he got out there and had a grown man block, and then there are other times where – a linebacker just runs right around him and tackles Derrick in the backfield, and it's zero resistance. So, Lawan could do that, but he would do it almost consistently, get out there and make these blocks. Dillard, not so much. I think that Radins isn't very good. I think he tries to be a physical guard, but I don't think he really is, and he's not very good in pass protection, and so that's why he was probably a bad tackle. I think Brewer is too small to consistently run block well. I think Brunskill is fine. I mean, again, if he were the fifth guy in an offensive line, I think he'd be fine. But I think he's probably more of a backup than he is a starter. And quite frankly, I think their best offensive lineman's the right tackle, Chris Hubbard, who has small arms and small legs, but somehow, some way finds a way to do his job. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, Jared. I think that's a fair assessment. Hubbard actually is performing a lot better than I expected him to. given his last several years in the NFL. He's got a lot of starts under his belt. He's played a lot of good football, but the last several years before he came to Tennessee were not good years for him in terms of effectiveness. But I thought he's done a really good job, and he's been left on his own a lot out there as the help has gone to other positions in terms of tight ends and running backs to help. So he's done pretty well. Brunskill's steady. I got no problems with him. He's going to give you what he's going to give you, which is enough for the offense to work, but not enough to go slam people and make things happen that otherwise wouldn't. Brewer at center, gosh, I like that guy. Now, he's another guy that just fights, and he is way too small. What is he? 270 or so? Might be a little bigger now, depending on what he had for pregame meal. But in terms of understanding how to use leverage, he's good at that. But when he goes against those 320-pound, warthogs in there that'll, just snatch him and thrash him and toss him aside, it's a problem. What he is good at is the combo blocks, and he needs the combo blocks in order to be successful consistently. And so he's not their long-term solution at center, but I'm actually not terribly displeased with him. He is a liability in pass protection when he doesn't have slide protection to help him, which is to say one of the guards coming down to help him with body presence, because he's just too small to stop a bull rush from a really good bull rushing interior defensive lineman. Left guard Dylan Radins, can he play? He hasn't shown us that he can play, but he did show us that he could fight like crazy in the first game back. So, I want to see what happens. Do you know when Skoronski's coming back? I mean, he had that appendectomy, but how long is he going to be out?
I mean, probably 2 more weeks, I would guess.
Yeah. So we're going to find out a lot about Radins over the next couple of weeks. But I tell you, there's a lot to be said, though, about his grittiness, because part of the problem was a lack of grittiness in the past. And so that's an improvement. So what else has he improved? And then at left tackle, I'm really worried about Dillard, because when he's in space, generally, he's very athletic and he looks pretty smooth. Problem is, if you just square up, hit him in the mouth, you can, he tends to wilt. And you can get a bull rush on that guy if you get a real good start, because he doesn't drop anchor very well. Run blocking the same kind of way. He didn't show the finish of blocks that Radins did in this game, where, he had a chance to bury somebody. He didn't do it too many times. So this offensive line has all kinds of questions, except for Skoronski, who I really like, and then Hubbard, who's been a bit of a revelation in comparison to the guys that are next to him. In other words, he's not great, but compared to everybody else, he's a guy you want in there. And I don't know if Nicholas Petit-Frere is going to come right back in and start.
Trevor, if you had to grade on a curve for Tannehill and Henry, given the problems with the line, how would you do that?
I would give both of them an A+ in this game, maybe an A++. And if I can give a higher grade, I would. I mean, Tannehill was just, I thought, magnificent, given the fact that he didn't have the running game that he normally would have with the average offensive line. Although they were able to move the chains and they did some good things, and there was somewhat of a running game, but it wasn't like it could have been with a better offensive line. And he didn't have the pass protection consistently. And yet he didn't freak out because he didn't have the pass protection. When he dropped back to pass and there was a little bit of pressure, but not a lot, he didn't take his eyes off of the receivers and put them on the pass rush to see who was about to hit him this time again. He kept his eyes up and downfield. And once again, he was very efficient in completing a lot of passes. Derrick Henry was just magnificent because there were essentially no holes there. He just found what amounted to a place that was less blocked by the defense, less stuffed by the defense, and then he mashed into that spot, and then he drove the pile forward for 3 yards, 4 yards. And that was enough to move the chains and have a pretty good third down conversion rate and allow play action pass to work. And so I thought those two guys carried this offense in a major way.
Trevor, last one for you. I have a theory. I want you to tell me if you think it is fair or foul, which is, I believe that with this offensive line, the Titans have absolutely no chance of converting a 3rd and long through the air.
Fair. And when I say with 3rd and long, like if you go 3rd and 12, something like that, that's a very low percentage play for the offense anyway. What you need to be able to do is drop back on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, and be able to hit those passes at the sticks. In other words, don't just throw a short pass and hope you get yards after the catch to get up there, but drop back, allow the routes to develop, 8 or 10 yards downfield, and then hit those and protect the quarterback long enough to do it. And I don't know that they are consistent enough to be able to do that, because play action pass is not really a factor when it's third and 8. And that third and 8, you're going to have a bunch of those, and you have to convert some of them. It's still a low percentage play for the offense, but there's enough of an opportunity there that the good offenses will convert enough of them to keep drives alive. And I don't know that this offensive line is able to just flat pass protect well enough to do that consistently enough to give their little guys a chance.
Trevor, I think this is the most we've ever agreed on anything. Great stuff this week. We will watch Colorado on Saturday, and then we will watch the Titans on Sunday. Appreciate you, Trevor.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Maddich is presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics and by Twin Peaks. So I want to get into what Trevor just said right there. Boy, Ian, I don't think Trevor and I have ever seen his eye to eye, on the offensive line and the play calling and Tannehill and Henry as we just did right there. Wow. We'll get to that coming up, because there is one thing I'm really afraid of. Let me tell you about Twice Daily. That's right. I've been telling you, get the Twice Daily app, sign up for rewards. And if you live in the city of Nashville, you've got a Twice Daily in your neighborhood just like I do, and I am at my Twice Daily all the time. Celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with Twice Daily. They have store giveaways all month long, and all you have to do is be a Twice Daily Loyalty Club member. That's right. Going on right now, September 15th through October 21st, get a free bag of Frito-Lay chips. That's right. And 50 cents off Pan-Fino varieties of Bon Appetit products all month long, September 15th through October 15th, which is very exciting. And plan a visit to the Nashville Zoo on September 30th. They have joined forces to honor the history, culture, and achievements of the U.S. Latino and Hispanic communities. Visit the zoo on September 30th for the Hispanic Heritage Festival presented by Twice Daily, and join in on a variety of festivities, including dance performances, a puppet show, a number of musical performances, and more. Of course, you can find out more at twicedaily.com. And again, download the Twice Daily app and join their loyalty program to unlock special discount savings and so much more. Twice Daily, fresh all day.
Whether it's college football,
Players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia.
or the NFL,
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman and Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort and cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Attention taxpayers, ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute, because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately, helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
After getting their first win of the season on Sunday over the Chargers, the Tennessee Titans will be turning the page to Week 3 when they travel to Cleveland to face the Browns. The Titans and quarterback Ryan Tannehill had a bounce-back week after failing to score a touchdown in Week 1. ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck was on with Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace and talked about what he noticed from Tannehill versus the Chargers.
I think when you see 7 or more guys have receptions, and Ryan targeted 8 different players in the game on Sunday, but when you have 7 or more guys catch the football, what that means to me is the quarterback is seeing it right.
The Titans have made some roster moves, promoting defensive lineman Kyle Pecco from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. The Titans waived defensive lineman Jaden Peavy to make room for Pecco, and they waived defensive lineman Michael Drumfor from the practice squad. Titans versus Browns is set for noon on Sunday. The Browns will be without starting running back Nick Chubb after he was lost for the season to a knee injury last night. Free agent running back Kareem Hunt is set to visit Cleveland today. The University of Tennessee announced a contract extension for head men's basketball coach Rick Barnes through the 27-28 season. The Nashville Sounds begin their final series of the season tonight at First Horizon Park as they take on Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. First pitch is set for 6:35 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And the score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So at the beginning of the show today, we went inside the film room, and I told you how I felt about the offensive line and how I think the Titans' offensive line is terrible, and how I think that Tim Kelly did a great job calling the plays on Sunday, how I think Ryan Tannehill did a great job working around the offensive line, and how I thought Derrick Henry excelled in spite of the fact that he's got nowhere to run because of all the guys blocking in front of him. And LD from McMinnville texted in at the beginning of the show and said, why don't you invite someone on that really knows how to break down the film? And I replied, you mean like Trevor? And that was at 2:05 today. And so Trevor was just on the program. And Ian, did Trevor not basically just, without me even asking him to back up my claims, did Trevor not even kind of hit on a lot of the same things that we said earlier after breaking down the film?
Yeah, the O-line's still a work in progress, according to Trevor.
The O-line stinks. That's basically what Trevor said. I asked if you had to grade Tannehill and Henry on a curve. He said A++, and he'd give them more if he could.
He said they try hard. He'll give them that.
The line tries hard. Ryan Tannehill, Tim Kelly, and Derrick Henry all worked around a massive problem that they have, which is the offensive line. They played to their strengths. Fake the ball to Derrick Henry, throw the ball deep. Out of pass sets, run the ball. When they think you're going to run the ball, throw it. At the very end of the game, who's the most sure-handed receiver on the team? It's DeAndre Hopkins. Let's roll Tannehill out so we make sure he doesn't get sacked and we don't lose any yards, and he puts the ball right on the sidelines where only DeAndre can catch it. They worked around the massive problem that is the offensive line. But then I have to ask myself this. Do I think the Titans can do that week in and week out? Do I really think that Tim Kelly and Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry can put together game plans and go into these games knowing, hey, man, your offensive line is so bad that everything that we've taught you before this year, you're going to have to do the opposite. So on 3rd down and 13, when we tell you, hey, man, we need you to stand in the pocket, we need you to kind of wait for guys to get open, we need you to wait for your receivers to get down to the sticks, and then we need you to fire it in there, and we need you to take care of the ball, we're going to ask you to hand off to Tajay Spears on a draw play so we can bring the punter out. And we need you to understand that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I don't think that the Titans are going to be able to get away with this every single week, and I'll tell you why. There's 2 specific reasons. Number one, I don't think the Chargers are very well coached. And I think that seems to be pretty obvious. And I was reading a really good piece at paulkaharski.com from Blake Bedingfield, the former Titan scout, who was talking about how the Titans have a plan for how they want to win games in the end. The Titans have a plan of where they want the ball to go at the end of the game, and the Chargers don't. And that's why the Chargers always get to the end of these games, whether it's the playoff game against Jacksonville, whether it's week 1 against Miami, whether it was you, and they seem to just not have answers because they're not very well coached. The second reason why I don't think that Tannehill and Kelly will be able consistently every week to work around the offensive line problem is because every game is different. And so if the Titans find themselves in a game against a team that scores a lot of points, they're going to have to play some catch-up ball. And you can't play catch-up ball if you can't pass protect. And as of right now, the Titans can't pass protect. I don't think the Titans can play action pass their way to victory every week. The Chargers said, we're going to stop the running back, so if you throw it deep, you throw it deep, and we'll be willing to get beat that way, but we're going to make you do that. Jim Schwartz, I believe, will have a different plan on Sunday. And again, considering that I don't think the Chargers are very well coached, I bet you Jim Schwartz's plan is probably going to be a better plan than the Chargers. Some of these teams you're going to play have better corners than the Chargers do. Like, I don't know, the Saints. They had better defensive backs, and Tannehill couldn't get around the bad offensive line. For the Titans to be successful on offense, and this is the decision the Titans made when they looked at their budget and they said, hey, we're going to have to skimp out somewhere, and they decided the offensive line. When they decided to pay Aaron Brewer $4.5 million, when they decided to go with Daniel Brunskill, who had been a backup, when they decided to sign Andre Dillard, who had been a bust in Philadelphia, and commit essentially $22 million to their offensive line this year, when normally we're used to the Titans being in the $30 or $40 million range, they knew they were going to have issues. And as is the case with most things in life, you get what you pay for. And this is what the Titans have paid for. Now, they did invest heavily at the left guard position, the least important part of the offensive line, and they did get what, by all accounts, a really good player in Peter Skoronski. So when he comes back, that at least should be a positive. But in order for the Titans to win around these offensive deficiencies, they're going to have to work around them. And the more that they work around these offensive deficiencies, the more opportunities that other teams are going to have, or that we would expect the Titans to have, that they're just not going to be willing or able to exploit. For example, on the last drive before the first half ended, the Titans were driving down, and there was a 3rd down and short, and Tannehill threw a ball over the middle, complete to Treylon Burks, who gained 1 yard. And I was talking to somebody today, and I said, is it too much, when you look at the film, is it too much to ask Tannehill to wait just one tick? Because as Burks was flying across the screen, as Burks was going across Tannehill's face, he was open, but Tajay Spears was leaking out behind him, and there was nobody on the right side of the field. And so if Tannehill had just taken a split second, turned his head to the right, he would have seen Spears wide open. Would have been an easy dump off for Tannehill, and Tajay Spears probably would have danced into the end zone for a touchdown. But it probably is too much to ask Tannehill to do that. Because when you ask Tannehill to do that, you're telling Tannehill, hey, you're going to have to stand in that pocket for an extra second on 3rd down. And my guess is they're preaching to Tannehill, make the quick decision, because you're not going to have time back there. Can the Titans really win week in and week out when they aren't able to run plays on 3rd down and long? I love when coaches say things like, well, 3rd and long is low percentage for everybody. Yes, but it is 0% with this offensive line and these receivers. And so what Tannehill and Kelly did, I kept telling you guys yesterday, you guys wanted to act like Tannehill didn't have a perfect performance. And I mean, he could have thrown the ball away on one of the sacks that he took around the goal line, which I didn't like. And Tannehill probably should have dirted the screen pass that he tried to throw and things like that. But I'm not sure you could have asked for more out of Ryan Tannehill. And I'd love to know what this would look like if you gave the good quarterbacks this offensive line and these receivers? Would it look that much better? But it took a great effort from your play caller, a great effort from your quarterback, and a great effort from your running back in order to win this game. And you had to do it in overtime against a coach who's about to get fired. So I don't think they can do that every week. And I know you guys want to hear positive talk all the time, and people say, oh, Jared, you're too negative. Oh, Jared, you're too hard on the offense. Oh, Jared, you're that. I'm just telling you. Right now, that offensive line is a problem. And if you don't want to take my word for it, take Trevor's. Because Trevor's saying the exact same things that I'm saying, and he played in that league. He was a first-round draft choice in that league. He's got an AFC championship ring in that league. He played center, tackle, and guard in that league. He broadcast on CBS for that league. So he knows what he's talking about. And the question is, can Kelly, Tannehill, and Henry work around this line for the rest of the season? 615-737-1025. I see some of your texts. We'll get to them. 615-737-1025. Plus, I do have an idea of what the Titans should try to be. And it involves both Henry and Spears. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Harbor Freight, we think you shouldn't have to break the bank to get great tools. Because we know that for some of you, tools are part of the job. And for others, they're just the beginning of making, fixing, restoring, and building. That's why we make high-quality tools that are priced affordably. Because we love being the start of all your working, making, fixing, restoring, and building. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
It's time for another Kubota Field event hosted by Coleman Tractor of Nashville. Our biggest sales event of the year will take place on Thursday, September 21st at the Nashville Gun Club during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot. Stop by our booth to learn all about Kubota. Zero-turn mowers, utility vehicles, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers, receive a coupon for up to $250, plus enter to win prizes. Try it and buy it at Coleman Tractor of Nashville during the Shooting Hunger Sporting Clays Shoot at the Nashville Gun Club, Thursday, September 21st. The event kicks off at 7:30 a.m.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at FBHP.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I guess this is more specific on the Derek Tajay, I guess carries and snap counts and all that. Did that play out kind of ideally for you as far as how they both did their
Just
thing?
want them both to be productive, and we know that, Derek's going to have to get his touches, and, Tajay can clearly help us as well, so, whether it's too little, too much, I sat in here before, Derek rushed for 2,000 yards, and he was getting it too many times. I don't know what to tell you.
With Tajay, how do you like the way? Because it seemed like he was.
You guys are chuckling. You're the ones that asked the questions.
There you go. That was Vrabel talking about, we'll find him touches, will this, will that. Look, Derek carried the ball 25 times. He caught 4 passes. That's 29 touches. When he broke his foot in 2021, he was touching the ball 28 times a game. You can't give the guy the ball. And you know me, I want to give the ball to Derek on every play, especially now where they can't block. I want to give the ball to Derrick Henry. I'm not going to ask him to give him the ball 30 more times. And Spears is not bad. So I see a blueprint for success when it comes to the Titans. A team that's got an average quarterback, 1 good offensive lineman, they spend a lot of money on defense, and 2 backs. And it's Mike Vrabel's old team. No, not the Patriots. When you hire a Patriot coach, you want the Patriots. And no matter what the Titans would say now, when John Robinson fires a playoff coach to go hire an expatriate, it's because he wanted to be the Patriots. Just like when he brought in Malcolm Butler and Deion Lewis and all of those guys. They wanted to be the Patriots. But it's not the Patriots that I think the blueprint for the Titans to be successful follows. It's the Steelers, Vrabel's first team. It's the early 2000s Steelers. Now, I use the year 2001 as kind of an example. Now, that Steelers team was 13-3, and they were the #1 seed in the AFC, and they lost at home in the AFC Championship game to Vrabel and the Patriots in a game that Tom Brady got hurt and Drew Bledsoe quarterbacked them to victory. But here's how the Steelers were able to get to 13-3 with Cordell Stewart as their quarterback. Now, Cordell Stewart that season finished 4th in the MVP voting, but he threw for 194 yards a game and had a quarterback rating of 81.7. Average. They ran the ball. They had the #1 rushing offense in the NFL. And they didn't have the #1 running back, but they had 2 good running backs. They had Jerome Bettis, and they had Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala to go along with Amos Zaraway. And as Bettis got older, and at this point Bettis was 29 years old, and Bettis carried the ball 225 times for 1,000 yards, and as Bettis got older, they started to work in Amos Zaraway more. So Amos Zaraway had 440 yards that year, and then he had about 700 yards the next year. And that's how I see the Titans working in Tajay Spears. Amos Zaraway was a good running back in the NFL. He was never a #1 running back because Jerome Bettis was always there with him in Pittsburgh. When he went to Oakland later, they tried it out a little bit, but he really wasn't. He was always good as that caddy to the bus. That's what I see Tajay Spears being. The Steelers' defense was ranked #1 in the NFL. Now, I don't think with the Titans secondary being the way it is, I don't think the Titans are capable of having the #1 defense, but the Titans are 11th in points allowed right now, in spite of being 20th in yards given up. Now, the quarterback play that they're going to face is going to be worse as the season continues, we would assume, when they start playing the rookie quarterbacks and the Anthony Richardsons and those kind of guys, Desmond Ridder, that it'll be worse than what it was the first 2 weeks. But the Steelers were 3rd in points allowed. You're 11th right now. Can you chip that number away? But where the Steelers really were a good team in the early 2000s was by running the ball and by stopping the run. Again, that average Cordell Stewart team, 1st in rushing in the NFL, 1st in rushing defense. Last year, you were 1st in rushing defense. For the last 5 years, I have to assume you're first in rushing. And even though your line's worse, so your rushing total should go down a little bit, you now have 2 running backs. In 2002, the Steelers were 9th in rushing, 1st in rushing defense. And again, with Tommy Maddox as their quarterback, with 2 running backs, the Steelers were 10-5-1 and made it to the divisional round of the playoffs, where they lost an incredibly controversial game here in Nashville. I think that's the guideline. I think that's the blueprint. Remember those Steelers teams? You know, they had Plax Burress and Hines Ward, and you've got DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks. They had Tommy Maddox and Cordell Stewart. You've got Ryan Tannehill. But it's rushing defense. It's the defensive line. For those teams, it was guys like Joey Porter that they had. Not Joey Porter Jr., who's out there making plays for the Steelers now. Joey Porter. For your team, it's Jeffrey Simmons. It's Arden Key. Danico Autry. And I do feel like that's your best bet. That's the way to build. That's the expectation for the team. That kind of hard-nosed, every game's going to be close. You're going to have to make your kicks. No mistakes on special teams. In fact, the expected points, which is something that all these, big gurus get into, as far as expected point total, the Steelers in 2001, now they didn't turn the football over, which, again, we saw. Week 1, you turn it over, you lose. Week 2, you don't turn it over, you win. But their expected point total, as far as defense is concerned, only was negative in 3 of 16 games. And the total of the 3 bad performances, one of which was a victory against the Titans, was a total of minus 2.58 points. That means that their defense was incredible that year. That's what your defense needs to be. But that's the blueprint. Those tough, rugged Steeler teams nobody wants to play. The bus at running back, Amos Zaraway comes in, Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala, to sub them. They can throw the ball to the receiver some, but you don't want the game in Cordell Stewart's hands. You didn't want the game in Tommy Maddox's hands. You really necessarily don't want the game in Ryan Tannehill's hands. Tannehill is not going to throw for 400 yards and you win. Just like Tommy Maddox was not going to throw for 400 yards and they win. And then when they got Ben Roethlisberger, they could throw for 400 yards and win. That's where you are right now. That's the blueprint. But it's going to be tough with this offensive line. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Jason in Dover asks a great question. He says, what can the Titans do to fix the offensive line except just bitch about it every day? And the answer to that question is nothing. Like, those are March problems. And I said this when the Titans were trying out Jamarco Jones. Remember, Vrabel got up to the podium when they opened up training camp. And they were talking about the right tackle position because Nicholas Petit-Ferrer got suspended. And Vrabel was like, no, I like the guys we have here. And he was talking about Jamarco Jones, who they have since released, and Andrew Rupchich, who they have since released, and John Ojukwu, a.k.a. OJ, who they have since released. So he's talking about all these guys that, oh, no, I'm excited about these guys, and they're all gone now. And I asked Vrabel right before training camp, I said, how nervous are you about the offensive line depth? And he was like, I'm not nervous. I'm excited to coach them, but I'm not nervous. And I remember thinking, well, that makes one of us because I am. So the hope has to be that Vrabel and Mike McCarthy Jr., their new offensive line coach, they can coach them up a little bit. But, I mean, you listen to Trevor talk about it, right? Like, you guys have listened to Trevor talk at that 4:30 slot longer than I've been on an afternoon drive here. You know Trevor is a glass half full guy. In fact, I'd argue Trevor might be glass 3.5. 3/4 full, I guess is the right way to say it. 3/4 full. And he's like, yeah, no, I just don't know what you do with this offensive line. This offensive line's so bad, you cannot convert a 3rd and 13 with this offensive line. They cannot pass protect long enough for 5 guys to be able to run out into a pattern. So then you have to leave a couple back to protect. So now it's 3rd and 13. The other team's going to bring out 6 or 7 defensive backs and drop them all around the sticks, and you're going to have 3 guys in the pattern. So it's 3 versus 7. Good luck to you. There's no way to do it. One texter says, I think when the Titans get Petit Ferrer, Skoronski, and Radens firing on all cylinders, this offensive line will be quote-unquote not bad, and that will allow us to win some games. Radens stinks, guys. Like, this is what drives me crazy about the Radens thing. Radens comes into the game because the guy that was in front of him was absolutely abysmal. Couldn't do anything. You could put me in that spot, and you'd get the same results. So they put him in the game. He tries his tush off. And the best thing Trevor can do is give him a gold star for effort. Have you noticed we never give Derrick Henry a gold star for effort? We never give Treylon Burks a gold star for effort. We never give Jeffrey Simmons a gold star. Hey, Simmons tried hard. You only do that for the bad players. That's like when some fourth-line Scarbini who comes up from Milwaukee scores a couple of goals, and everybody gets in their feels about Rocco Grimaldi. We don't get that way when a first-liner comes up here and scores. But that's what this is. Radens is not good, folks. And so now, they ended up winning the game. So, that he'll be the one to get us out of this. No, the reason you're in this mess halfway to begin with, and I only say halfway because Ian brought up a point during the break where he was like, they've busted on these draft choices. I'm like, everybody busts on draft choices. Yeah, they busted on Isaiah Wilson and Dylan Radens. Guess what? The Philadelphia Eagles busted on Jalen Reagor in the same draft that you busted on Isaiah Wilson. Let me ask a question. Do the Philadelphia Eagles have a wide receiver problem? Nope. I mean, I know they busted. Hey, guess what? The Philadelphia Eagles busted on Andre Dillard in the draft before that. Do the Philadelphia Eagles have a tackle problem? Nope. Busts happen. So it's not just those 2 picks that put you in this predicament. You didn't spend any money on the line. I told you guys in March, Mike McGlinchey, who ended up signing with the Broncos, Mike McGlinchey wanted to come here. He knew Ran Carthon from San Francisco. He wanted to play here. And the Titans were not interested. So you get what you pay for. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. Man, some of these texts, man, you guys want to believe in some crazy stuff out there. Big E says, you hit it on the head, Jared. The key to success is physical play on both sides. Run the ball, play action, which complements a physical defense, which can be fresh because of the time of possession. Use the 2-back set, which gives them versatility and good special teams play. Well, I'm not banking on good special teams play, but the one thing I would say is that, I do think that the Titans have to be willing to punt. That's the one thing that going to have to be beaten into Tannehill's head, beaten into Tim Kelly's head, and beaten into your head as the fans, which is, hey, go ahead and be willing to accept on 3rd and 9 a handoff to Spears up the middle and a gain of 4. And then bring Stonehouse out. And it's easy to say right now and not get worked up about, but when it's in the middle of a game and it's a 3rd and 9, and you just threw, you ran Derrick for a gain of 1 on first down. You threw it incomplete on second down. Now it's 3rd and 9. You hand off to Spears. You're going to go crazy when you see that. But that is, in fact, the right thing to do because of the limitations that the Titans have on the offensive line because the Titans weren't willing to spend any money on the offensive line this year. McGlinchey wasn't the only guy, by the way, that wanted to come here on the offensive line, and the Titans said thanks, but no thanks. There are 3 guys over the last couple of years. McGlinchey's one of them, but there are 3 guys that are playing on other teams that I see making plays for other teams that I know wanted to be on the Titans. 4 if you count the kicker you're going against next week in Dustin Hopkins, that I'm like, oh, God. Oh, God, I wish that guy was on the Titans. Now, Hopkins missed a kick yesterday, I want to say from like 46, but then he hit one from 55, and I don't know if Nick Folk can hit from 55. We'll see. But right now, kicker's not a big concern of mine. 615-737-1025. We'll hit more of your phones. 615-737-1025. Plus, Speaking of the Browns, they could be on the move tonight and tomorrow and maybe in the mix to make a big move ahead of Sunday's game. Should they? Will they? We'll discuss that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
I think Vanderbilt is steady, disciplined.
It's been so long since Tennessee's gotten out of the first weekend.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I don't mind going to another team. You want to know what the coaching staff's going to look like?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Back in 1949, Dr. Houston began the tradition of treating athletes for common sports injuries. Today, the sports medicine physicians at Houston Clinic Orthopedics continue his legacy. Whether you play at school, in a league, on a professional team, or just enjoy being active, Houston Clinic Orthopedics physicians are there to help you stay in the game. Common sports injuries include tears, strains, sprains, and instabilities of the knee, shoulder, and ankle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is located where you work and live. Visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Hi, this is Warren Moon, former quarterback for the Houston Oilers, 9-time Pro Bowler, and member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As a former player, I've always focused on my health. Did you know about 1 in every 3 people in the U.S. will have shingles in their lifetime? Shingles can cause nerve pain and can last for months or even years. As we get older, our risk of having shingles and its serious complications increases. Getting the shingles vaccine is the only way to prevent shingles. Join me and gear up against shingles.
Oh, Charlie's, that's where you find me. That southern flavor got me saying, hey, y'all. Young, have some fun, share with the ones you love. Don't you wanna roll?
At O'Charlie's, we thought you'd enjoy a little country rock and rolls. The warm, buttery, delicious kind. Served free with every meal. O'Charlie's. Oh, that's good.
Young, have some fun, Charlie's. Born in Nashville and it shows.
What's it like to be one of the most sought-after basketball players in the nation?
Top 20 recruit. Say hello to Billy Preston.
You turn into a star damn near.
Preston.
We want Billy.
Until
somebody had called the NCAA anonymously.
The federal probe has turned up widespread fraud and corruption in college basketball.
Listen to The Bag Game from 30 for 30 podcasts.
We all got mud on us, man. All of us.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Rose, 6 to 9.
Big time performance, best part of the team.
Chase McCabe, 9 to 11.
An unrestricted free agent.
Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace, 11 to 2.
Got the big contract.
The Velvet Touch.
Talking about Hall of Famers. And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
Kept going for it.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Smashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Here's Chubb trying to pick his way inside the 5, and he does. Knocked down at the 3. Ball came out, but he was down. Minkah Fitzpatrick gets the tackle, but a gain of 5. And the last thing any Browns fan wants to see, Nick Chubb holding his left leg.
Oh, boy.
And Minkah Fitzpatrick is down for the Steelers. I am told that the replay of Nick Chubb getting injured is not to be seen.
Yeah, we're not going to show it. It's as bad as you can imagine.
They just showed it on the big screen here in Pittsburgh, and the crowd gasped.
So Nick Chubb's out for the season. I quite frankly think that Nick Chubb's career might be over, and I hope it's not. I would love to see him play in an NFL game. He's not playing on Sunday against the Titans. So now, Ian, is it that Kareem Hunt is going for a visit, or
Correct.
is it that they've signed Kareem Hunt?
No signing, just visiting today.
So here's where it really puts the Browns in a bind. Is, as soon as Chubb went down, people were talking about, what about Jonathan Taylor? Because obviously Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis, there's clearly friction there on both sides, and most of these teams were not willing to pay a steep asking price, and I don't think anybody really wanted to sign Taylor to an extension. And so enter the Browns, who probably call up the Colts and say, hey, we'll give you a third-round pick in exchange for Jonathan Taylor. It's probably the best the Colts can get, but a third-round pick is better than nothing, which it seems like is kind of what they're going to get out of Taylor anyways. And Taylor probably could look at that as an opportunity of going to a winning team and a team that does pay top dollar in the league with the highest payroll out there and blah, blah, blah. But they're not going to be able to do it this week because, A, Taylor's on the PUP list, and B, by playing Monday night, they can't be making moves on Monday. They've got to start getting the things done on Tuesday. And that's today, and today's over. So, tomorrow the game plan goes in for the Titans. But I do wonder, the Cleveland Browns, here's the thing about running back in the NFL. These teams have calculated that running back is just not that important. They figure, you know what? We don't need to pay a running back big money because if we lose our running back, we can just go sign Johnny Joe off the practice squad. And once we put that guy in there and we hand the ball to Johnny Joe, he might not be as good as Derrick Henry or as good as Nick Chubb, but he'll be good enough. That running back last night for the Browns, Ford, we'll hand him the ball. We'll be okay. And I think, the analytic people would tell you that. The GM people would tell you that. The coaching people would tell you that. The people that all don't value Derrick Henry, even though the only reason you win these games is because of Derrick Henry. All of those people would say, hey, we don't need to trade a third-round pick for a running back. Then there's the owner. Then there's Haslam. And we know Haslam is calling the shots. Because, again, the coaches, the general manager, the owner, or the scouts, none of them want to give a quarterback $245 million guaranteed. And Haslam did. So we know Haslam's calling the shots there. And I would not rule out Haslam picking up the phone and telling the general manager in a panic, because this is supposed to be a big year for the Browns. Their payroll is massive. Like, it is, they are one of them and the Saints are the two teams that define the fakeness of the salary cap, and the 49ers too. And so he's the kind of guy that's got all this money invested in Watson and Garrett and Conklin, who's hurt, and Chubb and Amari Cooper and Njoku and all these guys. They got a boatload of money invested in. This is their season, and they've already won against the Bengals, and they've got a decent schedule. And it's like, you know what? If I got to pay another $8 million to make this happen, and I got to give up a third-round pick, fine, do it. And Haslam's got that kind of impulse to him when it comes to making ownership-level decisions for the roster. So if a Jonathan Taylor trade's going to get done, it's going to be because one of these owners gets desperate and, like Jerry Jones would say, I want him. And then they just won't take no for an answer. And Haslam might be that guy for Taylor. So while I think it would be unlikely for the Browns to make that trade ahead of Sunday's game, and I don't think it would necessarily, spin me one way or another if they were to make that move ahead of Sunday's game. I'm not going to rule it out, not with Cleveland. If this were one of the poorer franchises, or maybe one of the franchises that maybe kind of stood on their principles more, I'd say there's no way that happens. Like if this were the Chicago Bears with the McCaskey family, they're not going to react to the injury to Nick Chubb and say, we got to go do something. Haslam would. So we'll just be keeping an eye on that. Texter into the text line says the offensive line problems are because John Robinson stunk. That's why they exist. That's great, but Andre Dillard, not John Robinson's fault. Giving Aaron Brewer $4.5 million, which nobody else in the NFL would ever do, not John Robinson's fault. He didn't do that. Brunskill. And I'm fine with Brunskill. To me, Daniel Brunskill is, if I had 4 good linemen, he could be the 5th lineman. Kind of like the interior offensive line version of Dennis Kelly. But he's definitely not Skoronski. And John Robinson had nothing to do with that. And the right tackle spot, Hubbard's actually played okay, and so I'm not going to complain about it that much. And I really, the Titans, I guess, could have signed George Fant, but at that point it was kind of slim pickings when PT got suspended. But that's also not John Robinson's fault. And that's my point, is you want to make it about, let's blame him. He's not here anymore. Blame him. Floyd used to always laugh when we would talk about these things, and he would say, those are the last guy's problems. Every time. But the offensive line, yeah, they busted. That's not – you can go back to all these teams that have busted in 2020 and 2021. Hell, the 49ers busted a quarterback with maybe the greatest bust as far as a trade was considered, maybe in NFL history with everything that they gave up to take Trey Lance. And they're doing just fine. You're not on the line. So don't make this about John Robinson. This is about what you did in March. All these players that are on all these other teams, they wanted to be here. McGlinchey, I told you at the time, wanted to be here. Then at the Combine, I told you that the Titans were telling people, yeah, we don't really have money to spend in free agency. Which is crazy because after free agency was over, they went out and spent $12.5 million on DeAndre Hopkins. So they had some kind of money. But don't be mad now. It's like the one texter said, what can we do other than just bitch about it? And the answer is nothing. Those are decisions that have to be made in March. And the Titans didn't. They took a shot on Andre Dillard. Now, I actually think Dillard played. The only really disagreement that I had with Trevor in any of this was Dillard. I think Dillard half the time is pretty good. The other half the time, I think he absolutely sucks, which does drive me crazy. But I don't have a problem with Dillard half the time because he got out there on that 23-yard run by Derrick Henry, and he just murdered somebody. I just need to see that more consistently, but I don't think I will. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I think I'm going to pull a Joe Rexrode here, and I think I'm going to talk in the middle of football season in September. Do you know where I'm going with this, Ian?
College basketball?
I think I'm going to get a little college basketball take.
Fun.
To round out the show. The Tennessee Volunteers have extended the contract of never win in March Rick Barnes. We will discuss. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 for the game.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
The saga continues worldwide. The legends of hip-hop and icons of New York, Wu-Tang Clan and Nas present New York State of Mind Tour 2023. Wu-Tang Clan and Nas together live in concert in Nashville this Wednesday at Bridgestone Arena. Wu-Tang Clan and Nas. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
The two most sought-after, most prestigious names in bridal jewelry come together for one epic event this weekend at Genesis Diamonds.
Tacori and Viraggio, the world's premier designers, are showing off their entire collections. All the latest designs, many showcased for the first time ever, with up to $5,000 in savings.
Everyone loves Tacori, meticulously crafted by master artisans in their California design studio. Discover the hidden details and exceptional quality that sets Tacori apart. There's always more than meets the eye with Tacori. Come explore the entire Tacori collection, including all new Tacori fine jewelry, earrings, bracelets, eternity bands, pendants, and more.
If you're engagement ring shopping, this is a once-a-year event you can't miss. Other jewelers aren't even allowed to carry these iconic American-made brands.
Also for this event, Genesis is showcasing an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds in all shapes and sizes.
Come join us and take advantage of special incentives, zero interest financing, and as much as $5,000 in savings this Friday through Sunday, only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Actor Portrayal, based on a real patient experience.
I'm Mike. I'm a husband, proud father of 2, work my butt off 6 days a week, some nights too. When my family or my company needs me to make it happen, I make it happen. But a few months ago, I started having trouble making it happen, in the bedroom. I tried some pills online, but they didn't work. Honestly, I thought about throwing in the towel on my sex life, but I'm not that old. I still want to enjoy intimacy with my wife. Like that poet said, I don't want to just go gently into that good night. So I went to the Tennessee Men's Clinic in Franklin, got some lab work done, was prescribed some meds, and wow, it made it happen. I can't say enough about them. Their providers took care of me, followed up, and made sure I had a treatment plan that actually works. It's awesome. If I were you, and you're like me, I'd give them a call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. If you're like most guys, they'll make it happen for you too.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
The Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut.
Strong-willed opinions.
There's hot takes and then there's weird takes. Yeah. This is a weird take.
And sometimes some old man takes.
I'm excited about it. So do I gyrate embarrassingly?
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Brian and the Owls are the ones heading to the Elite Eight. That is the ball game. The Owls alive and well. They win it 62-55, and Florida Atlantic is Elite Eight bound.
There you go. Tennessee losing in the Sweet 16. Once again, losing an NCAA tournament game in the white home jerseys for the umpteenth time in a row under Rick Barnes as the coach. And today, Tennessee men's basketball has extended Rick Barnes' contract through the 2027-2028 season. Can I ask a serious question about this? Again, it's not at the top of my to-do list since we're in the middle of football season. And, I mean, quite frankly, college basketball doesn't really move the needle around here until like February anyways. But can I ask a serious question on this? Why? Was 2026 not good enough for Rick Barnes? I mean, we're in 2023 right now, so we're technically in the 2024 college basketball season. So you got 24, 25, 26, 27. So he's got 4 more years. Do you really need 28? I just looked it up. Rick Barnes is 69 years old. By the time this is over, he'll be 75. Do you really need that? I mean, Barnes is fine. I don't have a problem with Barnes. I mean, he is what he is. Rick Barnes is the Ryan Tannehill of college basketball coaching. Like, he can win you a lot of games, and, you'll be there in the playoffs. You just won't win in the playoffs. I mean, like, that's going to be, you'll run into somebody else and you'll lose. And every year, Rick Barnes ends up playing Saginaw Tech and gets their asses kicked in an NCAA tournament game, and that'll happen again this year. Danny White is quoted as saying, quote, "Our fans have responded to help create an electric atmosphere on game days, and I can't wait to watch the Vols continue our quest for more championships under Rick's leadership." What championships are we talking about? Like the Maui Invitational Championship?
Any SEC championships in there?
I mean, I believe he won the one a couple years ago, the COVID SEC Championship. I believe he won in 2021, only to then lose in the second round of the NCAA tournament. I mean, you know you're a loser program when you care about conference championships. So I don't think that counts. Under Barnes, this is the AP story. Under Barnes, Tennessee has made 5 straight NCAA tournaments and won at least 25 games 4 times and has been a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament 4 times. Wow. They've been a top 4 seed 4 times. And they made 1 Sweet 16. If you're a top 4 seed, that means that you go into that tournament as a top 16 team. So they've gone into that tournament 16 times, and he's been to 1 Sweet 16, and that was last year. And then they lost to Florida Atlantic. I take that back. They went to the Sweet 16 when they lost to Purdue that year that they were number 1 in the country. So 2. I mean, look, that's fine, but it's more of the same. I mean, that would be like if the Titans decided to extend Tannehill 4 more years. Now, I think Tannehill's playing pretty well, and I think he's a lot better than a lot of you, the Tannehill haters out there. But to extend Tannehill, no thank you. Now, I'm not saying they should fire Barnes. You know, this is the same thing that happened when they extended Jeremy Pruitt, and I'm like, why? And everybody's like, oh, Jared, you don't understand. I'm like, I think I understand fine. You know, I think Barnes is doing an okay job. Barnes is making a ton of money. He's doing an okay job. So you let him keep doing it, and you see if he can do better. And by the way, when he does turn 75 years old, if he still wants to coach, can't you go to him then and say, hey, man, you keep losing in the second round of the NCAA tournament. How about you take $1 million pay cut? So you go from $5.5 million, instead of us giving you a raise 5 years ahead of time, how about you now take $1 million less? Because I don't think there's a big market for a 75-year-old basketball coach who never wins any tournament games. But I could be wrong. Anyways, congratulations to him. And to Vol fans for more of the same. That's it for us. We are out of here. Stillman and Company, ESPN Radio is coming up next.